Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. This is the infected. Back again. Back again. With another safe case. So, last time we finished case 2. Figured it out. Thena's kind of crazy, but like, nah, I dig that. Yeah, and yeah. I didn't expect that. You know. So I'm kind of excited to see what case 3 holds for the characters, and I think we're gonna go focus with Brian, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm a bit excited. See if my voice holds again, but my voice is all back fixed again, not fixed, but like okay again. So yeah, we're gonna go in case 3. The Wizard's Room. Staff, tools that exist with mysterious powers. The body of a famous staff collector was found sliced in half. Vertically. So, this is a theft case. London, Dartford Road, 1960-something. December 10th, 2 o'clock. That case finished up faster than usual. That case finished up faster than usual. Indeed, the fingerprint on the incinerator played a critical role. I'm glad you came with me. But it was your choice to bring me along. Weren't you certain you'd need my skill? After one look at the case file. You tend to overestimate my abilities, Detective Bryant. The surgeon was away, so I had to choose between you and Detective Thena. And I couldn't pick her, could I? For your information, your conversation is being broadcast live to certain Detective Thena. After all, Detective Thena has so much more on our plate. But of course I do. Sorry I couldn't tag along. Note. Good, I'm alive. Detective Brian, could you tell me in advance when you're radio in? Sorry about that. I've known to keep my spork turned around when I'm walking. These sporks in the burrow applies to detectives. If you speak with the spork part facing down, you can transmit any other smoke in your set. Honestly, it looks ridiculous talking into an upside-down piece of cutlery, but the quality of the transmission is vastly superior to any existing walkie-talkie. It fits in one hand, and the sound is so crisp that you think the person was right next to you. It doesn't seem to have a limit on the range either, and the reason for that, these sporks we use, you said they were a manifestation of staff, right? That they are. It doesn't work through any mechanical means, but by a skill that shares sound, allowing for calls for such high quality. Skills, just like the staffers. Yet unlike the staffers, staff needs to be a trigger. I mean, yet unlike the staffers. No, yet unlike the staffers, staff needs a trigger. A trigger? Note, as you may know, most staffers are able to wield their power forth whenever they wish to. However, so staff is inanimate, a certain condition must be met for a skill to happen. We call this condition a trigger. Trigger, pointing bone prongs at ground, skill transmits sounds to all sporks in set. In the case of our sporks, the trigger is the fork. In the case of our sporks, the trigger is the fork's prongs pointing to ground. Whenever that happens, it uses its skill to share sound. A trigger? Like we're setting off a gun or something. Note, sometimes you ask rather obvious questions. Aren't you supposed to have learned all this in school? I couldn't go to school. My hometown was run down, backwoods town you only see in Western movies. There was no one else my age in the whole town, so I wouldn't have been able to... there was no one else my age in the whole town, so it wouldn't have made sense for them to have school. Yeah, we had nothing resembling books either, so all I had to study was at the local paper. Someone's coming to look for me, so I have to end the call. Sorry. Right, of course. I see, then the information you had on Thena Manor was scant at best, since all you have to go on was what you were exposed to in your hometown. Indeed, and that's why I decided to come here and get a crash course on everything. Yet, if you think about it, opposite way, you were able to reach the level you currently reside at from the worst of upbringings. After all, you've been able to solve these manner affair cases after gaining a purely passable understanding of phenomena in question. Again, don't overestimate my abilities. After all, I'm not able to drive myself around yet. I think we can make some time for driving lessons, don't you agree? It's just I feel bad asking the surgeon to drive me around all the time. And since I'm not a staffer, it's hard for me to solve cases myself. I think you can manage, according to what I've had at least. Heard from them. Never mind that, but if you do think of something that'd be difficult, do everything in your power. And if you feel you need help of a scope, simply call me in. You've got your own work to do, Brian, so I feel bad calling you up all the time too. Think nothing of it. Consider me a handy tool you can call upon whatever you need. Huh? What exactly is that supposed to mean? You're right, that's a rather grandiose way of putting it, but if I might restate my point, I merely wish for you to trust me. Dr. Brian, you have a habit of saying things in a rather unintelligible way at times. And you have a habit of speaking much too frankly at other times. Though it's not that noticeable when I put beside Detective Thena and the surgeon, Detective Brian is far from ordinary. Might I ask you a question? Right, of course. Why is it that you don't have a driver's license, yet you have a license to operate heavy machinery? That's a bit of a long story. I guess I'm not too ordinary myself. Phenomena Bureau, London Branch, Manor Affairs Division. We're back. Hey Brian, you have a visitor. Hey Brian, you have a visitor. No, that's wrong. Hey Brian, you have a visitor. Hello? Haha, you arrived. It took everything you told me and organized it into this file. Wow, I have no idea you'd actually do that. Wow, I had no idea you'd actually do that. Honestly, I was expecting to get nothing but a stern talk to. With this, you'll be able to grow on about your daily life, but if you wish to attend a festival of that sort, no, this is quite enough. The past 6 months have been difficult without this. Thanks to you, sir. I can get on my way now. You have my gratitude. I hope to see you again if I get the chance. Well then, shall I make us a spot of tea to make up paperwork easy to swallow? Detective Thena, who was that? A staffer immigrant. No matter how hard life is here, there's no place for No matter how hard life is here, there's no place with clear regulations for staffers than London. Thus, it's quite common for staffers to immigrate here from above. Oh my gosh. No matter how hard life is here, there's no place with clear eradications for staffers than London. Thus, it's quite common for staffers to immigrate here from abroad, and many staffers at cult level threat and above have no clue but to live here. No clue. No matter how hard life is here. Hold on. My throat's closed right now. I had some ice cream beforehand, I think because of that. No matter how hard life is here, there's a place with clearer regulations with staffers in London. Thus, it's quite common for staffers to immigrate here from abroad, and many staffers at court level and above have no choice but to live here. However, to engage in activities outside one's residence, it's required that the staffer acquires something like a bureau file first, and if an immigrant isn't top priority of approval, they can take quite a long time. That's quite unfortunate, but processing those files isn't Detective Ryan's job, is it? Brian must have seen that woman causing a scene this morning at the front counter on the first floor. Then what happened? And what do you mean? That was the end of it. I'd wager Brian just offered to help out the blue. What do you mean? That was the end of it. I'd wager Brian just offered to help out of the blue. I'd wager Brian just offered to help out of the blue. This may be my own twisted morals here, but don't you think the kindness Detective Brian shows to those around him is a bit too much? I don't think it is. I don't think it's a question of twisted morals. I think the Buddha himself would turn his nose up at Brian's meddling. No matter who's asking, the man you'll usually take on the favor. Usually? Usually. Detective Brian, could you clap for me? Like this? No, with more forever. Or could you go buy me some pastries? No. What pastries would you like exactly? No way. I'll take a croissant. I'll take a croissant. I'll take a croissant. I'll take a croissant. I don't know how English people say croissant. You get it yourself. That didn't work. That didn't work. That didn't work. Huh. Why didn't he listen to you? Call it karma. Did something happen to you in a past life? Indeed, it was when we decided to break things off between us. After that, I refused to fulfill a single one of Thena's requests. Ah, I see. However, what do you mean by broke things off exactly? Did we not tell you before? Oh, we were dating. Yeah, we were dating. I see. I had no idea. What was that? And they were dating? These two? Is such a thing physically possible? I'm extremely curious what happened between them, but since I can't be sure of all the circumstances, I shouldn't pry. New case. Suit up, everyone. What horrible timing. Are all four of us going on this one? What sort of case do you have? I've got a photo of the crime scene right here, but I must warn you that it's quite gruesome. Come now, Pandy. It's not as though we don't see a body every day or two. It's just a pit. Ah! Get away! Shoo! Shoo! In the picture that... Alright, hold on. Come on now, Pandy. It's not as though... Come on now, Pandy. It's not as though we don't see a body every day or two, and it's just a pic... Ah! Ah! Get it away! Get it away! Shoo! Shoo! In the picture, that body... Indeed, it was sliced in half. Vertically at that. The victim's name was Peter Miller. He lived out on Dartford Road, and he was a rather well-known staff collector. Case 3. The Wizard's Room. London, Dartford Road, 1960-something, December 10th, 220. Detective Brian, could you elaborate on what we were talking about before? What we were talking about before? Ah, about the case. You must not have heard the surgeon's explanation before. No, it's about... I understand that photo did a number of me as well. I imagine you must have a hard time focusing. I mean, you're not wrong, but, I see, if I had to summarize it all. Our victim's name was Peter Miller. Rumor has it that after retiring from the military, he has amassed a considerable fortune by investing in an automobile company. However, the reason his name spread through 13 circles was because his unique collection. He collected staff, right? Indeed, he did. It seems that his collection contains a number of unauthorized staff that has not been inspected by the Bureau. Unauthorized? Only staff inspected by the Bureau and labeled with a threat level of Bowie or under may be purchased by private citizens. Owning a staff with a level threat of cult or above is a crime. Thus, our victim may have dangerous items in his collection that may have never been inspected. It seems as though bribery was enough to keep it. Thus, our victim may have dangerous items in his collection that have never been inspected. It seems that through bribery was enough to keep it from the ears of the Bureau officials. Yet his name is famous among collectors. Also, the victim was found splayed out this morning, just as he was in the picture. He was in front of the storage shed he keeps his collection and staff in. The first on the scene discovering the body was none other than the victim's wife, Ellen Miller. She's a staffer, but her threat level sits the slowest at unarmed. She doesn't have a skill capable of slicing a man in twain. Such a feat would be impossible with any orderly object. However, the victim's collection store nearby the scene of the crime is full of objects far from ordinary. Considering the state of the victim's body, there is a high likelihood that unauthorized staff from his collection played a part in his crime. This case will be centered around investigating the staff in his collection. I was actually trying to inquire about his relationship with the Thena. But he is correct in his claim that this is an ordinary case. It's clear that this is different from any case I've ever experienced. Let's get rid of these idle thoughts for now and focus on the case. After all, I am a detective. Were you perhaps not asking about the case, but talking about a relationship with Thena that we mentioned before? If you're curious about that, it's not exactly a secret. Shall I fill you in? Sure, yeah. Alright, I'll tell you right after we're finished with our investigation. After all, we've arrived at the scene of the crime anyways. Or, I said that really weirdly. After all, we've arrived at the scene of the crime. Alright, to be perfectly frank, I had no idea you wanted to hear about it so badly. I imagined you wouldn't be all that interested. But I am. In fact, I found my interest to be growing recently. In fact, I'm finding my interesting to be growing. Blah, blah, blah. It's fine. Fuck it. Miller Residence, 1960-something, December 10th, 3 o'clock. Their front yard is quite large. Can't be sure if all the rumors are true, but it certainly seems as though the one about them having a considerable fortune is correct. I don't think the size of their residence is of great importance. In fact, it reminds me of my childhood home. Is that so, detective? Then you were born into money? This is, then his overwhelming kindness stems from some sense of nobleness oblige? Noblesse oblige? Not that any of that matters with the situation as it stands. Perhaps the storage shed over there is our crime scene. It seems as though the Sarge and Thena have beat us to it. Step lightly. After you. You're here. Sergeant, is this our crime scene? It is. You saw it in a picture before, yes? Yeah, though I'm trying to erase what I saw from my memory. I've seen mutilated and dismembered bodies before, but this is the first time I've ever seen one sliced through the middle vertically. Then that means she's seen one sawed in half horizontally. Even if it was a person who did this to our victim, cutting a body in half vertically would not have been easy. It's fair to say that there must have been some reason for doing this to the body. There's something that caught my eye before. Maybe this balloon-like outfit the victim was wearing? It's a protective suit. It's a protective suit. I heard that he always wore that when he entered the storage shed where he kept his stuff. That shows us just how dangerous the items are. That's right. Let's begin our investigation here. That Brian and I will take care of investigating the area around the body. I'd like you to get the cray. Note, Brian and I will take care of investigating the area around the body. I like to get a trace photo and complete the memory survey at the same time. You think you can handle that? Sure, shouldn't be too difficult. Then we'll leave that to you. Let's get right to it. We've got at least 2 other places to investigate. Let's get right to it. We've got at least 2 other places to investigate waiting for us. Let's go. Clue time. Bum bum ba bum bottom. The scrap of clothing. It was his protective suit. It looks like he was wearing it. Now that you say it, it does have quite a lot of bloodstains on it. I'm not sure why this one's lying here, but this must be where he usually stores his protective suit. That lines up with the memories I read. Seems as though the victim hated tidying up. He has the memory of a jolt that feels as though it was tossed onto a chair or something. I feel like I could imagine that a sort of jab? Yet... Is there a problem?
The way this protective suit seems to have been tossed away feels a bit unnatural. It's like the victim was in the middle of putting on the suit when he missed a step, and it was thrown off. I know my explanation isn't doing much to help you understand. I must admit, it's hard for me to wrap my head around what you felt. For now, just write down the movements I felt unnatural.
Alright.
And also,
What happened to this suit all of a sudden? Did he do something to it?
from the memories I received, it was as if it blew up like a balloon. I imagine it must have inflated to absorb a shock and protect its wearer.
Sounds like one of those airbags you find in expensive cars, no? From the look of it, it's been ripped in half, so he'd only hear the sound of all the air escaping. Even with such a function, I think it's safe to say it failed to protect the victim. This is horrible.
Even without the body?
Just the trace left behind can help me envision the scene. Probably even more so because I got a good look at the picture before.
Right, it was quite rough. Sorry about that, I thought it was unfair that I would be the only one to see it.
Then it was intentional.
I'll stop with the jokes. If the victim was wearing this during his final moments, there's a good chance his voice remains with it. If I read the memories it contains, I should get something.
And is there anything left?
I couldn't tell what the victim was saying. All I got was the victim yelling at the top of his lungs about something in his final moments.
Does that mean he got into a confrontation with someone? Even if it did, it hints that the victim knew his death was coming before it happened. Rather unfortunate, really.
There is one word I was able to make out, though.
What's that?
Clean.
Clean?
Yes, clean.
What's that supposed to mean in all these? Pretty old door. The house looks quite nice, so why not get a nicer door over here?
There's a sound here. The voice of a younger woman.
A woman? That's probably the victim's wife. Can you make out what she's saying?
She's angry at someone. She said, "You can't live here. You can live in the last." She's angry at someone. She's angry at someone. She said, "You can live in there for the rest of your life." Then I heard a hard collision.
You can live in there for the rest of your life. What's that supposed to mean? Sounds like a parrot yelling at a child during the trip to the market. Don't you agree? You think? I didn't have any parents to yell at me, so I wouldn't know. Sorry, my mistake. Oh, why is he apologizing?
It's sadder than you aren't more mindful of what you're saying.
The footprints left behind are from our victim and his wife, and there are footprints with someone we don't have any information on yet, Sarge.
We have an unidentified person.
What are we supposed to do with that?
What do you think? You leave the name blank and figure out who's the owner of said footprints. This is a good sign of things to come. We have a suspect besides our single witness. When were the prints made?
Right here at the stroke of midnight.
Midnight. They were up in the middle of the night. Perhaps people were out here that late? Is that everything? Note the documents.
Here are, for now, we have two items to focus on. The first is the people who visited the scene of the crime on the day in question. We have our victim, Peter Miller, his wife, Ellie Miller, and one more person we have yet to identify. The second item is in the protective clothing. Somehow, half of it came to lie a distance from the body.
But honestly, why did the victim need to wear a protective suit in the first place?
This is his home, isn't it?
Perhaps entering the storage shed is dangerous.
So he wears protective clothing to enter his own storage shed.
It's not that. Note, it's not the storage shed itself we should be paying attention to, but the items contained within.
Oh, of course. The staff. The staff contained within the room is all unauthorized, which means we have no idea what skill each carries. We do know one thing though, at least one of the staff in there is dangerous enough to warrant wearing protective clothing. I see, then let's get in there and start investigating.
Sure, if you have a death wish. Sure, if you have a death wish.
Huh?
Brian, explain it to him.
I told you before, but every piece of staff has a certain condition, a trigger which activates its skill. The moment we activate the trigger, intentionally or otherwise, we invoke the staff to use its skill. If, by chance, the trigger is activated by someone or something approaching, the staff could use its skill and someone could get hurt. Ah, I see. I didn't think about that like that. I see. I didn't think about it like that. Leave this next part to me. My skill should allow me to read the trace from a distance. Huh? But what if a piece of staff is triggered by someone staring at it? Isn't that dangerous too? Oh, you could be right. In that case...
do you think you could keep sweeping your gaze around?
Good idea. I'll give it a go. So note, if there's anything you'd like me to investigate, just let me know.
Well done, Note. Thanks to you, Brian will be safer than before.
No, it's all thanks to your suggestion.
Then we'll call it a team effort.
For Detective Brian's sake, I'd better leave poking fun at him for later. Dun, dun, dun. Clue time. Dun, 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 dun. The only footprints inside belong to the victim? No. That's not right. I see prints from one more person. Whose are they? I don't know whose, but they are a match to the footprints he found outside the storage shed. Then our suspect entered the storage area as well. Rather suspicious, don't you think?
When were the footprints left?
Midnight. Same as the ones out front. The owner of these footprints didn't stay very long.
So at the time, there was a third person on the premises.
What is art exactly? That is quite a philosophical question, but if we were to give such a question its due, that would require a great deal of time. How about we hold that discussion for next time?
I'd rather not open that can of worms.
Shall we call this thing a statue then? And since it's on display here, it's a staff. The hand is clutching a golden object that could be interpreted as a number of ways.
That red pattern. I see a number of similar markings in there. What do they even mean though?
There's a black notebook over there. Is our staff as well?
Thoughts on that notebook, Note?
Well, since it's on display, it's gotta be staff.
Is that all?
Unlike the other staff in this room, there's no red markings on it. Or maybe they're somewhere we can't see.
Could be. So that's notes on the notebook for you?
Yep.
Aren't you holding back well?
What do you mean? There are fingerprints on it, but they're different from the victim's and his wife's. I don't see anything that matches the documents you brought along either.
Perhaps they are made by the same person. Perhaps they are made by the same person who made these. Perhaps they are made by the same person who made these footprints.
We could assume so, but there's something that concerns me about them. These prints were made at 1 a.m.
The footprints outside were left at midnight. If the owner of the footprints touched that notebook, then our suspect was in here for over an hour? What was the person doing all that time?
That's a phonograph, right? This is the first time I've seen one in a person's home. That's because this model comes with quite a high price tag. I doubt it's just for listening to music. Since it's on display here, does that make it a stuff? It's an antique, but I see the victim's handprints on it.
Good, you can see that so well, though we still don't know what skill it carries. Is there no trace that stands out to you?
I see one thing that strikes me as unusual. But I can't quite make it out.
What's that?
There's a small gap in the small wooden part of the photograph. Oh really? Can't make that out with my eyes. It's quite small. I believe it would be hard for anyone to make it out without my skill. But the fact that its trace might mean that you can make that gap bigger. Could it be, perhaps, be opened like a box? The store has been tapped on. The door has been taped one. This door has been tapped open, so it won't close. It seems it was tapped open to keep the scene how it was found. The most recent prints on the door were made by L. Miller, the person who discovered the body, right? This door, there's a bit of red on it. Is it some sort of marking? Yeah, but it's much more simple than the markings on the staff. Are these patterns supposed to mean something? The lot behind the storage shed is overgrown with grass and weeds. Must be a hard area to maintain. If I were him, I'd be worried that overgrowth might find somehow. Must be a hard area to maintain. If I were him, I'd be worried that overgrowth might somehow find its way inside. Well, that's hardly a problem. Anything worth nothing? That is rather surprising. I thought I might find the victim's fingerprints over there, but the only prints are from the victim's wife, El Miller. Does that mean the victim's wife frequents this building too? That I can't tell you. Only the latest prints of hers remain. The rest, it looks like they were wiped away. That window's so small. It'd be hard for a person to split in and out of it. Still, something about it bothers me. Out of everything we've investigated thus far, the most suspicious finding is the footprints of our unidentified suspect. There's nothing else that particularly stands out. Sorry. Voices give me the burps. I forgot to mute there. There's one thing that bears remembering though. There may be hints about the triggers somewhere. Just in case, I'll take an image photo of the interior too.
Penny, help! I can't handle this by myself! Pandy, help! I can't handle this myself! I had a feeling. You're such a meanie! I'll be right there, Thena. Hold on just a bit longer.
Sarge, speaking of Thena, where is she exactly?
Peter's investigating a different crime scene.
A different crime scene?
Didn't I say before? There are two places to be investigated. One was the interior of the shed, and the other is elsewhere.
But another crime scene? Isn't the body right here?
Well, half of it is. Where do you think the other half of the corpse went?
We have to climb up to the second floor. Wherever we're going, it's far from the shed. Sergeant, this is the victim's home. Are you telling us the crime didn't happen in front of the shed?
You two will see when we get there. It's too much of a chore to explain, so just follow me. Okay, this is the room, our second crime scene.
At some point, I was able to imagine what was behind the door before it opened. I could smell that familiar scent. The scent of blood. Indeed, one thing's for certain, this is a crime scene. Is this the victim's bedroom? And on the bed is...
Right, this is where the other half of the body was found.
Detective Thena.
I've been combining the area, doing what I can. I've been combing the area, doing what I can, but I have no idea what happened here. I imagine you two will be able to see something else using your skills, right?
No, are you ready? Yeah, let's start an investigation of the room. Food time. Bum, 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 bum. The half of the corpse of the bed was moved 2 hours ago. That's probably when the police came to cart away the body. I apologize, but I think that's all my skill can tell you.
Then I shall read the memories this bed may have for us.
Oh. Sergeant, did you uncover something?
I did, but it wouldn't be right to go into details about it.
Huh? Why's that?
It's a matter of, privacy in regards to the victim and his wife.
Ow.
Still, it was an unexpectedly rich piece of Still, it was an unexpectedly rich piece of information to harvest.
Excuse me?
Now we know that there were no bad feelings festering in the bedroom. I mean, I could go into the dirty details. I could go into the dirty details if you insist.
No, thank you. I'll pass. Anything in the jar?
That one. I checked it out earlier, but I only found an empty notebook note.
I see.
Again, doing well at restraining yourself.
How have you been expecting me to react?
Hold up. This notebook, the first page was torn out.
There may have been something important written there.
Whatever it was on the page, it's been there long enough that the notebook holds no memory of it. However, the page was torn out quite recently. If that's the case, I might be able to remake it with my skill. If I read the impressions on this page and trace them out, the writing from the page before reappears.
So she can use her skill like that too, huh?
Done. Done. The parts written before, I see. Prices, people's names, receipt.
How much money changed hands?
5,000.
5,000? What? Pence?
No, pounds. What? You can buy a mansion for that money? What? You can buy a mansion with that money?
Was it a receipt for an estate sale or something?
You'd be justified in thinking that, but something about such a huge sale being written out in a notebook feels wrong.
Could I have a quick look at that?
Here.
The only prints left on this receipt belong to our victim. They're over 5 months old at that. So over 5 months ago, someone made a sale for something worth £5,000.
That's right, and our other party in the sale was Zadvering.
Zadvering. I should remember that name. There are footprints on the floor from both the victim and his wife. That's odd. If this is where the murder occurred, you'd find the killer's footprints too. Even if this were the primary crime scene, you'd see footprints from whoever moved the body. If the wife were our criminal, that would make sense, but
it's too early to say for certain.
Indeed, since it's quite likely the staff played a part in this murder, there's also the possibility that the body was moved through unusual means. Detective Brian's voicing his suspicions more than usual, though such action is rather natural for a detective. Well, it's a pocket watch. Looks rather expensive, no? The victim's fingerprints are all over it. Was it his? Considering the time of the last prints, he used it this morning too.
Then why is it here?
True, a man normally keeps such a thing on his person. Hold on a minute, the hour hand. It's reading 7 hours too early. Hold on a minute, the hour hand, it's reading 7 hours too early. Is it broken? But you said it was used this morning. Did someone mess with it on purpose?
No, that's not it. It has no memory of being manually wound backwards.
Then is it really broken?
Why would have broken it?
Shall we call it there? Shall I call it there?
So, did you learn anything new?
There are parts I find suspect, but The thing that bothers me the most is the trace left on the floor. Indeed, you're talking about the footprints.
You talked about them just a moment before, no? You talked about them just a moment before, no? Which set is suspicious? The victim or his wife's? Which set is suspicious? Which set is suspicious? You talked about them just a moment before, no? Which set is suspicious? The victim's or his wife's?
That's not the issue here. That's not the issue here. The problem is that there is another set.
What?
The most remarkable feature of this case is that the fact that the victim's body is in two different places. Yet, if someone were to have picked up and moved the body, we would expect to see trace evidence from that person.
Aha! Aha! But we don't have evidence. But we don't have any evidence. Aha! But we don't have any evidence that happened, right? There's no evidence of that the entire way up here. At the very least, we can say for certain that the body was moved by no ordinary means. There's a good chance that the corpse was moved using one of the staff he's got displayed in the shed. In fact, I'm almost certain. As expected, we are going to have to know what skill of each piece of staff out there if we were going to... As expected, we're going to have to know the skill of each... As expected, we're going to have to know what skill of each piece of staff out there if we're going to find...
Oh my gosh.
As expected, we're going to have to know the skill of each piece of staff out there if we're going to solve this case. Thena, where is the victim's wife? Thena, where is the victim's... Thena, where is the victim's wife? Elle Miller? Currently... Thena, where is the victim's wife, Elle Miller, currently held? For the time being, I told her to rest out in the garden. She doesn't seem comfortable setting foot in the house yet.
A natural reaction, seeing her husband like that.
Unfortunately, we don't have the time to wait for her emotional wounds to heal naturally. I'd say there's a good chance that woman knows some things about the staff out there.
And as cruel as the presumption might be, she's our prime suspect for this.
I'm going to investigate the neighboring rooms. You three should head out of the garden and question Elle Miller.
You're going to investigate on your own?
I am. However, I'd like you to check and see if there are any sorts of footprints outside, Brian.
So we're splitting the investigation of the inside and outside between us. Understood. If the staff out in the storage shed was used to kill the victim, our culprit was probably well versed in the skill each possessed. Elle Miller. If she knows a lot about the staff out there... Detective Thena, what sort of person is the victim's wife?
Well, I didn't get a small chance to talk with her, but I couldn't understand a word that was coming out of my mouth.
Is that because she has yet to get over the trauma brought on by the witnessing the crime?
She looked like she was holding herself together at first glance. I've had enough of this. If you like that place so much, you can live in there for the rest of your life.
Hey, do you think that person shouting over there by the storage shed is...
I take back what I said about her holding it together.
Pardon me, but could you step back a bit? The area is still dangerous to be loitering around.
Are you another one from the bureau?
I am so bad at this, sorry.
Are you another one from the bureau?
Miss Elle Miller, I presume? What were you saying just a moment ago?
Whatever do you mean?
Just a moment ago, we heard...
I have no idea what you're implying. I have no idea what you're implying.
That's because you didn't let me finish.
To be frank, Miss Miller, call me Ellie. Call me Elle. Please call me Elle. Please call me Elle. Call me Elle. To be frank, Elle, we have a few questions we'd like to ask. And as my colleague said, this place is dangerous, so how about we sit down and have a chat somewhere else? Would you like to We have a table and chair. Wait, would you like to? Would you like to? We have a table and some chairs set up at the east side of the garden. Shall we head that way? Phew, phew. Sounds good. Sounds good. Sounds good. Phew. Phew. Sounds good.
Detective Brian, has anything been moved? Oh, I checked, but didn't see anything. I didn't see any trace of assault. Seems as though she was just yelling for yelling's sake. You think so?
So what is it you wish to ask about?
We have some questions regarding the staff in the shed we were just in.
I do apologize, but I do not know much about my husband's collection. I do apologize, but I don't know much about my husband's collection, so I don't think I'll be much of help.
We're not here looking for a professional opinion or anything. Even the most basic information would be a good start.
I'm terribly sorry, but I don't know the first thing about staff.
Yet it was your husband's hobby to collect it. Are you certain you know nothing about it? Perhaps the two of you...
Have you ever been married, sir?
No.
Then consider this a learning opportunity. The key to a happy marriage is keeping your nose out of your spouse's affairs.
Huh? Wouldn't most people say the opposite?
Even in marriage, a relationship between two separate individuals, once the two comes to live together, they begin to show each other all the unpleasantries they were able to keep hidden when they were courting. As they do, all the affection they had built up pops like a bubble. Out of those unpleasantries, nothing is more off-putting than a husband's crazy hobbies. Before staff, it was rare minerals, and I thought I was going to lose my mind with how he would go on and on about them all day. That was when I put my foot down and made the decision that personal hobbies would remain just that personal. Thus, it's quite the given that I know nothing. Of staff. After that decision, my husband and I grew closer. Others grew envious of the harmonious marriage we were able to maintain. Do you see it now?
I get your point that you know nothing about staff, at least.
It's partially your...
Oh my gosh, my voice.
It's partially your fault she went on like that. No, she lost her husband today. You have to consider a person's emotional state before you toss out your questions.
Right. She doesn't seem to be grieving all that much, though. Well then, could you give us a statement regarding the time and circumstances of your coming upon the body? I know it must be hard for you, but it would be great help.
A statement? I already told everything to your colleague here. Wait, was that what you're talking about? I was listening, but, isn't there anything new you'd like to add? Isn't there anything new you'd like to add? No, I told you everything. No, I just told you everything. I witnessed the very moment my husband died.
Detective Thena, why didn't you share such an important piece of evidence with us?
About that... You'll understand when you hear from it. About that. You'll understand when you... About that. You'll understand when you hear from her.
Then there's a reason behind your actions. Ma'am, I'm sorry to be such a bother, but could you repeat everything you told her for my sake?
If I must. Please listen. If I must. Listen more carefully next time.
Speech review.
I was having a conversation with my husband in front of the shed at 5 o'clock in the morning. My husband, as usual, was inside. I didn't bother to go inside, choosing to lean on the door instead. We finished our conversation, and just as I was turning to leave, I heard my husband call to me with great urgency in his voice. I turned back to him. And there he was, in such a state. her testimony.
That was one doozy of a statement, and every word of it was accompanied by abnormal heartbeats.
She seems so confused, but she's really quite shaken about. She seems so confused, but she's really quite shaken up about this. It was her husband who died after all.
It's no wonder such a statement came as a shock to you, Detective Thena.
I told you.
Perhaps it was the trauma brought on. Perhaps it's the trauma brought on by witnessing what she did that distorting. Perhaps it's the trauma brought on by witnessing what she did that's distorting her memories like that. But with the staff playing a role in this case, even such a statement cannot be simply ignored. Besides, we can't say for certain she's not feigning insanity. True, I've seen my fair share of statements that don't make much sense in these cases. I've taken thus far.
But there's a possibility she's speaking utter nonsense, right? But there's a possibility she's speaking utter nonsense, right? If that was the case, we would need to find out whether she spoke the truth or not, right?
To start, shall we take a closer look at her statement? Making use of the abnormal heartbeats is a big ask, but if I can find something odd about it, there's a good chance the whole statement is false. Let's do it. I was having a conversation with my husband in front of the shed at 5 o'clock in the morning. My husband, as usual, was inside. Miss, you said you didn't go inside the shed, right?
That's right. He was always telling me to frolic around it. That's right. He was always telling me to not frolic about in there, as if I had any interest in looking at the items he had stored inside.
That's odd. If that's the case, how did your fingerprints get on the inside of the window of the shed?
Ah, I believe you got the wrong idea.
Excuse me.
I'm sure my fingerprints were on that window, but I didn't step foot in the shed to make them.
Would you like to explain how that might be?
If possible, with an official statement. 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 No, it's not so convoluted as to require a statement. Rather, a setting event occurred right last night, so I woke up early this morning and decided to clean that old shed. Not the inside, of course, but the outside. He cleaned the inside of the shed every day, but why couldn't he clean the inside of the shed every day, but why couldn't he have bothered to clean the windowsill? I couldn't stand to see the layers of filth that had left built up. I couldn't stand it any longer, so I gave the window a good clean glass and flame. I even reached in to get the inside sill, which is why it's natural for my prints to be inside. But then he had the nerve to get angry that I did that, which led to a small argument. Well, I told you what happened. Note, what are you thinking about the statement? You think she was telling the truth?
Do we have any clear evidence to support Miss Miller's claim that she did clean the shed? Is the sound prints outside or inside? I'm not sure. Okay, no, it's outside. Another claims that the fingerprints she left in the cell were refute this claim. Oh, refute that claim. Isn't it just that the window could not be accessed from the outside? I mean, this is wrong, isn't it? That's not it. Yeah. Hmm. Um. I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea. 4:30. No, right? This one? Maybe the clean? Oh, it is, okay. I couldn't fucking tell. I think her statement may be true.
Oh, and why is that?
I imagine Detective Brian will know why that is. When the surgeon conducted a memory survey, there was a memory left over at the victim yelling, right? Right, that rings a bell. I see. Ah, I see. And there was a single word she was able to make out. Right, clean. The victim got angry that Miss Miller went and cleaned the room without asking him.
Acting like a teenager going through puberty, if you ask me. Acting like a teenager going through puberty, if you ask me.
This clue, it fits with her claim that our victims barred his wife from entering his storage area. I really don't get it. If two people are in love, wouldn't they want to share more about themselves?
No. Note, love and independence are two very different things. I read that in a magazine.
I still get all that, but if the victim lashed out, I understand why Miss Miller didn't know anything about staff. That's as far as we can trust Miss Miller's statement, though. I have no choice but to doubt what comes after.
Then we're a bit in a pickle here.
Ah, Sergeant.
She knows nothing about the staff in here, and her statement is garbage. In conclusion, there is no information to be gained from L. Miller.
So what now? We are out of places to investigate, too.
We have two options open to us. One would be to hand this off to materials.
Materials? That's the department of the bureau. That's the department of the bureau that specializes in analyzed stuff. After all, it's dangerous for us to be poking around a bunch of unauthorized stuff when we don't know what the skills they hold. It would be easier to leave that to the professionals.
But if we do that, this case will be completely out of our hands, and no matter what information materials may glean off this case, it will be the property of the Bureau. We won't see staff being mishandled again, but the information they will uncover will never see the light of day, meaning no one involved will know what happened.
Not the best choices. What's our other option?
We question someone who may know something about the staff the victim possessed. Do we have someone we could question? Do we have someone we could question? The victim kept everything a secret from his own wife. Well, what do you think, Note?
Someone who might know about the staff the victim had in his possession. Do we have any information on such a person? The guy on the notebook. What? I thought I would ask Dad. Someone who might know about the staff on display. I can think of one person.
Oh, of course you can. Who is it?
I don't know. But that makes it all the more suspicious. Of course, the other set of footprints inside the storage shed. That's right. Besides the victim's footprints, we found one more set of unidentified prints inside.
True, but how do you know that this person knows enough about the staff?
I mean, the victim's barred his wife from entering the storage shed. The victim barred his wife from entering his storage shed, which is why her footprints are nowhere to be seen. However, our unidentified person's prints are all over the inside of this building. Approaching staff without knowing about its skill. That's incredibly risky, and if there's someone willing to approach the staff on display without a moment's hesitation...
It's incredibly likely that the person knows about staff skill. It's incredibly likely that the person knows about the staff skill.
Logical.
I see. Well, I have an idea of whose footprints those might be. I've been absolutely beside myself, so I must have forgotten. We had a visitor last night. I couldn't tell you exactly the time, but we were just about to climb into bed and go to sleep. Dear me, how could I forget? Dear me, how could I forget a little thing like that?
Who was it?
Willie Montag, a friend of my husband's and a fellow collector.
By collector, you mean...
A staff collector, of course. Come to think of it, my late husband's interest in collecting staff was probably influenced by that man.
There was only one set of footprints left that night. I believe it would be correct to assume that those footprints were left by this William Montag. Ma'am, would you perhaps know his address?
Yeah, indeed I do. He lives quite close.
Thank you for the information.
Then that settles it. Shall we go find the owner of the prints and question him? I was leaning towards handing this off the materials and taking a break, but it seems we must do... I was leaning towards handing this off the materials and taking a break, but it seems we must be bothered to carry on. Don't make me laugh! Don't make me laugh!
Oh my god, my voice is deteriorating so fast because of the wife.
Don't make me laugh! I've never seen you hand off a single case! Don't make me... Don't make me laugh! I've never seen you hand off a single case! Don't make me laugh. I've never seen you hand off a single case.
Yeah, my voice.
Don't make me laugh. I've never seen you hand off a single case. Don't make me laugh. Don't make me laugh. I've never seen... Don't make me laugh. I've never seen you hand off a single case. There's always been one person vehemently opposed to the idea.
Well then, it seems our next objective is to find William and Dog and find out about the 3 pieces of stuff we have in this storage shed. What's wrong?
Hearing you say that, I just realized something. I only see 3 pieces of stuff in here. But I remember him saying something when he purchased those pieces. He said something like, what luck to have upon 4 pieces of stuff this rare. Of course, we had just moved here. I may have misheard him and all that clutter.
4 pieces of staff. And what she says is true. Could there be one more piece of staff floating around? Could there be one more piece of staff floating around somewhere? London, Dartford Road, 1960-something, December 10th, 4 o'clock.
Oh yeah, was the inside of the car always this nice?
You had to ride in the surgeon's car, huh?
I really thought I couldn't be crushed in there. It was a rather traumatic experience.
Brian must have shoved himself in between all those files, but we could have fit a 3rd person in here.
He must have worried about leaving Pandy behind. He must have been worried about leaving Pandy by her lonesome. He's so polite, it bothers me.
Detective Thena, I've been meaning to ask you about something.
About dating and breaking up with Brian. About dating and breaking up with Brian. Piqued your curiosity, huh?
How'd you know I was going to ask that?
I can tell. I can tell from your look at your face. I'm the head of integrations. After all.
It'd be nice to see some of those abilities during our actual cases.
But note, you must have been polite to bone to your body. You must have been a polite bone in your body. You know you're not supposed to ask to pry into long-dead relationships, don't you?
Is that so? Sorry, I'm not very knowledgeable when it comes to relationships. Like I said before, there was no one else my age in my hometown. So the only love stories I've heard were from those in their 40s, and also...
Let me stop you there. I shouldn't cut you off like that.
Why is Thena always apologizing when I start talking about my hometown?
So, he and I have known each other for quite a while. We were at Stafford Training Center at the same time, but we had only dating after I transferred to we only started dating after I transferred to this division.
A Stafford Training Center. I've heard one of these before. I wonder what sort of place it is.
How did we start dating right after I transferred? Anyway, we were together for about a year. Anyway, we were together for about a year.
Oh, I used my voice wrong. Holy shit. Hold on.
About dating and break up with Brian. Piqued your curiosity. About dating and breaking up with Brian. Piqued your curiosity, huh? I can tell from the look of your face. I'm the head of integrations after all. But note, you must not have a polite bone in your body. You know what you're supposed to pry into long-dead relationships, don't you? Let me stop you there. Sorry, I shouldn't just cut you off like that. So he and I have known each other for quite a while. We were at a Stafford Training Center at the same time, but we only started dating after I transferred to this division. Did we start dating right after I transferred? Anyway, we were together for about a year. We didn't separate over anything in particular. It's just I didn't feel all that special when I was around him.
Huh?
He's so nice to everyone around him, right? Then imagine whether it's his lover or some random person he just met on the street, he treats you the same. I wanted to be his everything. So is this the place? Note, did you see the building with the blue roof over there? I think that's Montague's apartment building.
Yeah, I think you're right. The address is the same as the one Miss Miller wrote down. However, the building's way older than I imagined, huh? More. Montag's room, 1960 something, December 10th, 4:10.
Well then, I guess we can just waltz right in since the door's wide open, but here, Husey, is this the right room?
Oh no, did he find a way? Oh no, or no. Did he find out we were coming and run?
If that were the case, he'd be making our job easier by confirming he's our guy. Tracking him down would fall to the blokes at the probation's office.
For now, let's wait for Detective Brian and the surgeon to get here. Their investigation might turn up something. Their investigation might turn something up.
Yes, I guess it might. I just felt a slight vibration coming from that corner.
Oh, did you catch that? Oh, not bad. Where'd you come from? I didn't see anyone over there. Oh, this cape is a piece of stuff able to make its wearer invisible for 1.3 seconds. Staff, but isn't that a rather short period to be invisible? Oh, it is, so to make up for that downside, I need to hide myself under the bed. How is that any different from just hiding under the bed in the first place? I'm not sure what brings you here, but you do well to leave quickly. I've got 15 pieces of stuff that I'm quite proud of, all ready to be triggered.
Oh, well. This one's ready to go off at any second too. Sounds good to you?
Oh, do you think a gun is going to do anything to stop me?
Oh, so you have some way of stopping it? Does that mean I can pull the trigger?
You want to waste a bullet? Let's cut it out with all this waste and in a recession of all times. Plus, if I somehow let my guard down, I failed to stop it, we'd be both in the world of hurt. For some reason, it seems like he's losing some of his confidence before. Note, have you met up with Montague already? Currently confronting, man. When are you and Sergeant due to arrive? We just arrived, but it's going to take me a moment to wiggle out from between all these fires. We'll be up there soon.
Seriously, where would you be without my help? Seriously, where would you be without my help? Seriously.
No, that's fine. I'm so ashamed. I'm so ashamed. I'm so ashamed. Isn't that the surgeon who... Isn't it the surgeon who got you in this mess? Start with the power of communication that takes the form of a spoke. Oh, you lost with the burrow. Burrow. Sorry. That's right, you know about these spokes? Although the Bureau has never made an official statement about them, their existence is quite well known among collectors. There are rumors around regarding the Bureau producing stuff in the shape of spokes. I see, I think I know why you all lot came looking for me. I imagine this is about my friend and associate Peter Miller. Could we get some information from you? I guess I can help. Officer Blondie, would you mind lowering that gun, please?
Does that mean I can't shoot you once? Does that mean I can't... Does that mean I can't shoot you once?
I can't be making holes in my walls. It's a matter of setting up the proper environment. Plus, wouldn't you have to fill out a bunch of paperwork for discharging your weapon, officer? Doesn't that job seem too much of a bother? Meaning in the end, he can't stop and said bullet. Mr. Montague, you visited Miller's house last night, did you not? What if I did? Then we have no choice but to label you a suspect in our case.
I mean, there's no need to be so worried. This is only a formality. We just need to know what happened last night.
That's not too much an ask. That's not too much of an ask. All right. Seems like the perfect time for my hat that amplifies sound. You could just use a microphone. Last night I went to see Peter. You must have already known that, which is why you're here. I visit Peter's house quite frequently, but I didn't set foot in his storage area yesterday. I'm not even sure what the lot of you are investigating. Just ask Peter if you need confirmation on any of that. To sum up his claims, he knows nothing. Detective Brian, hey.
Rescue mission complete. No, you can call it a rescue when it's your fault, Pandy. No, you can't call it a rescue when it's your fault, Pandy.
I know nothing. I know nothing. This is true regarding this case, but yet I can't help but take offense to the fact that it sounds as though you belittle my... But for the good of our newfound relationship, I would suggest you refrain from making false statements. Excuse me, what did you say? Would you like to become a sacrifice to my brooch here?
Probably just another useless piece of stuff. Probably just another useless piece of stuff.
I bet Detective...
Probably just another useless piece of stuff.
I bet Detective Brian figured it out the second he stepped foot in here to start investigation. The obvious lie in Montague's statement. Look, Mr. Montague, you claim to have not gone into the storage shed yesterday, but you went in there, didn't you? Into the shed? How do you know that? How do you know that? Thankfully, he's going the route of honesty. I was worried about how I was going to trick him in regarding Brian's skill. Sorry. Thankfully, he's going the route of honesty. I was worried about how I was going to trick him in regarding Brian's skill. Did Peter see me? Did Peter see me? No, that's clearly not the case. As you said, I did step foot in that shed. But it was my destiny as a collector. To put it another way, I stepped in there, but I never laid a hand on the stuff inside. You understand? Huh? What are you trying to say exactly?
Did you explain to him the circumstances surrounding the case? We did not. He already knew what was going on before we got here. We did not. He already knew what was going on before we got here.
Rumors travel fast, considering the unique circumstance we find ourselves in. That doesn't come as much of a surprise.
No, for some reason, I don't think rumors are traveling much at all today.
Could it be, is it actually that Mr. Montague has the wrong idea about our case? Now that I'm thinking about it, there's a part of his statement that doesn't make much sense. If he knew what was going on with the case, there's part of his statement he never would have included. Mr. Montague, you said we could figure something out if we talked to Mr. Miller, right? What exactly did you mean by that? What did I mean? I mean exactly as I said. Peter will always have my back. Not the easiest statement to stomach given his circumstances. It's a quality to appeal to the affection of a loved one. You still know nothing of this world, my young friend. What bearing is this supposed to have? This has nothing to do with affection. Have you no respect for the deceased? The deceased? Of course. Mr. Montague, I believe there's been a misunderstanding. I'm pretty sure you haven't quite figured out why we're here. Pardon? What are you implying? I'm quite sure you mentioned that you were here to investigate Peter's case. That part is correct, but however, this case is about the body that was found this morning. This is no matter of petty theft. A body? Whose, may I ask?
No, hold on a moment. What's going on? Isn't it a bit late to be surprised about that? No, that's a proper response. No, that's a proper response.
It is, after all, Mr. Montague is just hearing the news of the murder.
Well, what? Then, what have we been talking about this whole time? What? Then what have we just... Wait, what have we been just talk... What? Then what have we been... What? Then what have we been just... What? Then what have we been talking about this whole time?
That's the strange part, to think the deceased victim could prove your innocence. That's not to mention the fact that there was no abnormal heartbeat when he talked to his friend. Of course, come to think of it, Mr. Montague hasn't mentioned a body or corpse a single time. Considering his responses, the case he's referring to is theft, not murder of a victim. Does that mean he broke into the shed to commit a theft?
Excuse me, all this talk of bodies and corpses. Was this victims of yours by chance?
I'm afraid so. This morning, we found the body of Peter Miller.
No. That can't be true. I had no idea. To think of something like that could happen to you. Have happened? What? I was sure. You're all here because of the stuff I stole.
Mr. Montague's mask had been peeled away. It won't be hard to get the truth out of him now. Logical. Just as you all suspect, I did steal a piece of Peter's staff collection. His tone of voice has shifted.
Probably because he's finally realized the seriousness of the situation. Here's this bloke's real personality.
Peter said his collection contained pieces with real historical value. He always kept the pieces hidden rather well, but he had a habit of showing off the receipts to let me know how much he'd spent on them. In comparison, my collection is just a bunch of random stuff approved by the Bureau. Thus, I began to envy him, and then I did something rather childish.
That it was.
Last night, I snuck into his storage shed and I stole a piece of his collection. Where is that stuff now? It's in that safe over there.
This one.
The fourth piece of staff that was missing from the scene of the crime. If the piece of staff Montague stole is the same one that took the victim's life... you shouldn't go around touching things. The combination is...
It's open.
How?
I'm a detective.
What? She just did it closer to the work of a thief. Did she just use her skill to figure out the combination?
I could have done that too, you know, though it would have taken me slightly longer. I could have done that too, you know, though it would have been taking me a little longer.
With all the stuff I have locked in my desk drawer, maybe I should find a new place to store it.
Aw, like that nice letter you have in there.
Am I too late?
What are you trying to pull? What are you trying to pull? The safe's empty.
No, what? That's impossible. I put it there at 1 a.m. I'm sure of it. This can't be. It's really gone.
Wait, what? Was that one of his lies?
Think for a second. Are you sure he didn't move it and just forget where you put it? Think for a second. Are you sure you didn't move it and just forget where you put it? I do believe everything up until putting it in the safe at 1 o'clock is the truth.
I see. Then there's evidence that the object was in here at 1 a.m.
I see. Then that means they picked up trace that shows the safe was opened at 1. Mr. Montague, are you sure you placed that stolen stuff in the safe after you opened it? I'm, pretty sure. Seems like your memory is a little blurry.
Then would you mind giving a statement about the theft of the staff and returning it home with it? That may jog your memory.
Alright, I'll try to remember. Speech review! Last night, I went to Peter's house and had a talk with him. Then when Peter got up to relieve himself, I stuck into his storage shed. Since he always leaves the front door open, you can walk straight inside. That's when I stole his notebook, the smallest piece of stuff in his collection. Since Peter was still away, I told his wife I was leaving and headed straight home. When I went to slip the notebook into the safe, I was rather surprised when a dried flower he had using his bookmark stripped out. But I put it back where it was and locked it up in the safe. I'm sure that's what I did, so why isn't it in here? Why is it in there? Did I say something you found odd? Sarge, this is...
Indeed, what exactly is going on here?
Mr. Montague, there's a rather large problem we found with your statement. It's just... Easy. The notebook is in this picture. It's the one you stole, yes?
Oh, yes, that one. Huh? But that's...
Well, it seems as though we found the stolen stuff.
Seriously, where is it? Mr. Montague, the picture was taken right before we came here.
What?
When we checked the victim's storage shed this morning, the notebook was right where you see it in this picture.
What?
Does this mean, does this old man know anything at all? I'm not sure of what's going on anymore.
All we can tell is that he isn't lying. Montague would have no reason to bring charges upon himself.
Also, his heartbeat shows that he has really no idea what happened, and yet...
It's true, he stole that piece of stuff, and he locked it in his safe.
No, he couldn't have. It's gone! Then there's only one explanation. The staff teleported out of the safe.
I was thinking the same thing. Since the staff was no ordinary object, I wouldn't be surprised if it could teleport.
Well then, it seems likely that the black notebook's skill is teleportation.
That's not the only thing we figured out. Because it activated its skill, that means its trigger condition was also satisfied. The staff's trigger was somehow set off while it was in that safe.
Oh, then we figure out the secrets of one of the pieces of staff.
Oh, and then we figure out what secrets of one of the pieces of staff.
However, there are still at least 2 more pieces left to figure out. If Mr. Montague knows nothing of their skills, then we've...
If you wish to know about the staff and their triggers, how's about you track down the person who sold them to him?
You know, the seller.
I'm also a bit of a collector. I know the person you'd have to go to see if you wish to get your hands on unauthorized staff. Of course, I've never dealt with her due to her lack of funds. The staff seller's name is Bering. Perhaps it's in her Peter brought the staff from. Mr. Montague, would you happen to know where we could find this Bering woman?
I do. She has a little shop in a nearby slum. From the outside, it looks like the building is being demolished, but I assure you, it's a perfectly normal shop on the inside. Either way, it seems as though we made the right move in coming here.
I'll draw you a rough map showing how you get there. I'm not sure if I'm worthy of saying such a thing, but please solve this and let Peter rest in peace.
We promise we'll do our very best, but don't forget how low you stooped.
Of course. Logical. London, Dartford Road, 1960-something, December 10th, 4:30. This level of pressure. It feels like I've returned home.
You've missed my back seat that bad. You've missed my back seat that bad.
No, but if I don't keep such a mindset, I don't think I'll make it to our destination.
Is that so? Well, it missed you.
Yeah.
Thena was constantly grumbling, and Brian is way too big. It's just as I thought. You're the only one who really fits back there.
That's such an unfathomable honor. I can hardly breathe.
Right.
Sergeant, Detectives Ryan and Thena were at the Stafford Training Center at the same time, right? That place... what's it like?
Well, it's a facility under the oversight of the Bureau. It's Well, it's sort of like a school, where you go to learn the information necessary for life, however the rules are very strictly enforced.
All staffers required to go.
That's right, but once 5 months are up and your barrel file is complete, you're free to go if you've rated lower than a colt. However, most students stay for the full 5 years until they graduate. Finish all of the courses they can offer can help a staffer prepare for the future in a number of ways. Generally speaking, no one stays there because they wish to though.
Huh? Why is that?
Most staffers are admitted to the center when they are 9 years old. Living under such a tight rule is difficult on a child.
Do they always send children there when they are that young?
That's when a staffer's skill begins to properly manifest itself. From the barrel's perspective, they want to get all of them under their watchful eyes. Just as soon as possible that happens.
And yet you said most of them stay, right?
That's because they're children. They are at an age where they have no power to change the direction of their lives.
Still, most staffer children are sent to the center.
Right, most.
The more I learn about the city, the more I detest it. Actually, if there were as many staffers in my hometown as there are here.
Out of all the staffers I know, only one went to the center voluntarily. And that's Brian.
Huh? Why'd he go?
Good question. You can ask him, but he never gives just one simple answer. Considering it was Brian, he can at least be sure it wasn't to live life more comfortably.
Bearings Shop, 1960-something, December 10th, 4:40.
Thank you for coming, for your continued partridge. No, thank you for the great service. With so many items I didn't know were stuff, it's hard enough getting rid of them. The thought of the Beru coming to take them away was rather frightening and a bit of a waste. Well, if you find any more stuff, you know where to bring it. This store is a place of refuge. Hello there, everybody, hands up. Yeah.
Everyone, please remain calm. If you don't resist, we won't have any further outbursts.
There's a berry bitch. Let's get out of. Where'd she go? I'll be seeing you. Don't leave me here. Don't leave me here alone. Don't leave me here alone.
Zad Bearing, threat level unarmed, skill, pattern-based recognition, pattern-based coordinate interpretation. Judging from your barrel file, I guess we've come to the right place. This looks like your average construction site on the outside, but it looks totally different from the inside, eh?
Going up far as to park all that heavy machinery outside. I bet no one waltzed in right in here. You really thought things through, huh?
It seems as though this woman who ran away was here to sell stuff.
Would you like to tell me where she lives? The people who do business here all have to give up that information. So how about we settle things for reducing my sentence by 3 months by customer? And does this kid have no customer? Does this kid have no idea? Does this kid have no idea what customer loyalty is? Does this kid have no idea what Does this kid have no idea what customer loyalty is? But it's a bit unfair to bring only me in when they were half of the transaction. If I'm going to die, I think it better be go out with company.
To say such an awful, scummy thing in that whispering introvert voice of hers.
That would be nice, but we're not here to bring you or anyone else for illegal transactions that's been going on here. Well then. There we will be arresting you on some sort of charge eventually. Still, if you choose to cooperate with us, I believe we might be able to reduce your sentence. Ask away. You said we bury, and I'll hand over the dirt. Ask away. You say who we bury and I'll hand over the dirt. It's almost funny the trap. It's almost funny that the trash. It's almost funny. It's almost funny the trash just spews out of this girl's brain.
I wouldn't buy a bean from the likes of you.
Miss Baring, Peter Miller is one of your customers, am I correct?
The guy who struck it rich. What did he do?
He died, and it may have been the stuff in his collection that killed him.
Who are we talking about again? Peter Fu?
Miller's quite the common last name, but you just described him as the guy who struck the rich. That was just me pretending to know. That was just me pretending to know who you were talking about. I've never heard of the name before. Are you joking? Let's not resort to violence. That's not what civilized people do.
What's a black market trader know about civilized people do?
Alright, let's give her a bit of civilized people logical deduction then. How about we show you a piece of evidence that connects you to Peter Miller?
A piece of evidence that connects Miss Baring to the victim. Do you have something like that? Miss Baring, it's obvious that you were acquainted with the victim. Not only acquainted, you had dealings with him as well.
I did not. I've never met the man.
Well then, how did the victim come to have her receipt with your name on it?
Excuse me? He said he burned the receipt after... I had it restored. More importantly, I believe you just confessed right there, don't you think? I just remembered. I did some dealings with that man by the name.
What a timely memory you have right there.
Miss Baring, we're not investigating this in order to bring punishment down upon you. We're here to ask for your help. We have the first say on the punishment dished out by the Bureau for any criminals we catch in the act, so it is true that we can lighten any sentence that may be brought upon you. Could you please cooperate with us on this?
You actually can't over the sentence?
At the very least, I promise to do whatever I can do to that extent. Please just trust us.
Alright, I'll help.
Thank you for your cooperating.
Good thinking. Well then, can you start by telling us the skills the staff you sold to the victim? How about that? I sort of, forgot. Again, is she joking? But the deal I made with the man, it happened over 6 months ago. It's not out of the question for me to have forgotten. Actually, I'd be more suspicious if I remembered. And if I said I remembered when I didn't, wouldn't that even cause more issues? You should be thanking me for being forthright and telling you I don't remember.
Do you think our picture of the staff might jog her memory?
Alright, here's a picture from the scene,
but of course, did you remember something? No, okay then,
resist the urge, resist.
This time it's not really my fault. They all look different from when I sold them.
Huh? What do you mean by that?
Many of the pieces of stuff I sell have a look to them that's quite well known. So to avoid future punishment, their appearances require altering, and I advise my buyers to make them changes. Then it's your fault. Then it is your fault. Then it is your fault.
Well then, Miss Baring, it seems as though you won't be able to tell us the staff in this picture is what you sold to the victim.
I definitely sold those pieces of stuff to him. That's my mark on the statue.
By your mark, you mean the red symbol on it?
Yes. It's a mark left behind by my skill. It only takes a single drop of blood to trace that out. The lines inside the circle are routes an object traveled. Looking at the direction and thickness of the line, I can tell where it came from.
So this is your skill, Miss Baring. Pattern-based coordinate interpretation.
Well, before I sell a piece, I have to inquire into specifics of the skill and trigger. Only then I can make the sale. If you're careful, it isn't all that dangerous.
And you don't by chance have any existing records of your sales? You do?
Not exactly. I don't keep a record of my sales, but I do keep a record of my purchases. For my purchase about 6 months ago. Here, you can take a look at my notes.
Whole Grain Bank.
Whole Grain Bank? Not that part. Just check out the list underneath that.
These pictures.
They're pictures representing the skill of each piece of stuff. It's sort of a code that only I can figure out. I can't remember what I was going for.
What are these numbers to the side then?
The seller's contact information. Something I can use to get a hold of them if something's not right.
Why did she write down their phone numbers?
The numbers on the right are the prices I decided to sell the pieces of stuff for.
It's better than nothing, but it's gonna be pretty hard to figure out which staff has what skill from just a list.
You didn't write down the triggers either, and I see a few parts that are badly smudged.
I would prefer the details of skills spelled out in writing.
I figured a detailed record would be used against me if I were to stand in front of a judge, but I won't have that problem if I keep it all up here in my noggin, right?
If you could actually remember correctly, you'd be right.
Well then, there's only one thing left to do. That varying. What? You're going to be coming with us to the scene of the crime. You can get a good look at the staff and check out what sort of skill each carries. What?
They look different, so maybe seeing them firsthand will give us some different results.
They may look different, but their original staff form remains in each somewhere. If it didn't, they wouldn't be staff anymore. If someone with some knowledge of their original form were to have a look, don't you think that person would immediately be able to figure something out? That may be true, but that may be true. But wait a second. Isn't it possible that one of the pieces of stuff in the room killed Peter Meter? It's too dangerous. You just said that you have to inquire into the details of the stuff in order to sell it, and that the whole thing is safe if you're careful. Well, how about you put a little bit more faith in yourself? I'm sure you're well aware of the triggers of each piece of stuff you've solved, so you'll be perfectly fine, right? I guess so. Thank you for your cooperation in this matter.
I think the surgeon is a little peeved. Logical. Miller Residence, 1960-something, December 10th, 5 o'clock.
Hi, you're back.
Why, hello there.
Since you're here, Mr. Montague, I can only assume... Yes, he told me everything. I thought Mr. Montague rather childish, but honestly, he's simply pathetic. Could my Peter really have trusted such a man? If you are going to steal something, you might as well have stolen the whole lot. Couldn't even get away with stealing a notebook.
I swear, man. I swear, man. I'm so ashamed of my actions. And, about what happened to Peter.
Yes. Have you found anything about? That's our next step. Finding out what happened. Right over there.
Will she be able to properly investigate these objects in the state she's in?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We've got a protective suit for her. That was split in half along with the victim.
Look at that. She's traveling even faster.
Boo! Yeah!
What'd you do that for?
Wow, that's stupendous. Wow, that's stupendous. How fast can... Wow, that's stupendous. How fast can she go?
She's still a human. How can Detective Thena think such a thing?
Miss Baring, going into that storage shed, investigating the items up close will be our last resort. For now, just take a good look around the room. Is it bringing back any memories?
That one. Oh, did you think of something? I did. If I could just get a closer look, I could be sure of it. I'm going in.
Isn't that dangerous?
After I go in, please close the door, then you'd be safe. We can't do that. However, we can't do that. However, we can't do that. How will we know what's going on inside?
I'm sorry, but I must say I'm in the same opinion. I'm sorry, but I must say I'm of the same opinion. Is there no other way?
You told me to trust you before?
You trusting us and us trusting you are two very different matters.
Miss Baring, is there a reason why we should shut the door?
If my memory is correct, one of the pieces of staff I sold carries the stepping in shadows trigger, so I would like to minimize the amount of light able to enter the room.
Still,
Don't you think it'll be okay for just 1 second?
No, what are you saying, Note? Can't you see this guy as a criminal?
Maybe Note has
an idea regarding that.
Yeah, Thena, you used your skill to guess what was behind the door that time, right?
I did, but I just got a big picture.
That should be enough for though. No. After all, as things stand, she certainly doesn't seem like a person about to commit another crime. But perhaps since she doesn't know we're watching, she'll do something we wouldn't have expected.
I can't say I agree with you, but it's certainly better than doing nothing.
I'm still not sure. I'm
telling you, it'll be fine. Alright, Miss Baring, add on in.
Alright, please close the door once I'm in there.
Detective Thena, what's happening in there?
Nothing yet. She's just wandering around inside. Nothing yet. She's just wandering around inside. Nothing yet. She's just wandering around inside. What's going on over here?
Ah, Sergeant, hey.
Why is this door closed?
Miss Baring requested we do this. We're keeping an eye on her with Detective Thena's skill.
Don't tell me you did Don't tell me you did something so idiotic.
Pardon?
Huh? Open the door now.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is she? Where did Varin go?
She, disappeared.
You can't be serious. This can't be.
What are you doing, Note? You can't go in there.
But we might not be too late. This is all my fault. The detectives trusted me and went along with my idea.
Get a hold of yourself, Note. Get a hold of yourself, Note. You could actually die in there.
Understood.
I understand the sentiment, but let me handle this.
No matter what method Varing used to make her escape, she was bound to leave behind trace. Brian, please, use your skill to investigate the room and see what you can find.
Thena,
while she does that, you can... Alright, we'll do. Alright, we'll do.
good time. It's rather obvious, but Baring left a set of footprints. Baring's
disappearance means that one of a piece of staff in that room met the right conditions for its trigger.
Yeah, it looks like the footprints are just passing by all the staff. Where was she headed? Can't click on anything. Oh, there we go. The prints on the window, they weren't there before, were they?
Oh, that's right. Those were clearly left by Baring. She touched the window. If she escaped out of the window, we wouldn't have missed her. Outside the window, I don't see any footprints either.
She must have had a reason for moving that way. Are there no more clues to go on? What happened here? She didn't even touch any of the staff in the room.
She didn't touch anything besides the window, and touching it is all she did. That window was already open. Perhaps there was a trigger that didn't require a touch, but if that's not the case...
Well, that's it for us.
Huh?
Sergeant Redfins, what's the meaning of this? Is the report of Detective Hervers new true? If this is a matter of staff, you just have to dig a bit more and move on. So why is it such a drastic step?
I'm sorry, I take full responsibility for this.
Of course you do. I've already contracted officials in the materials division. In 2 hours, this will be their case.
Hold up a second, Chief.
To put such a blemish on a career, useless. So that's the order you gave Thena.
Yep, that settles things.
Sergeant, to hold yourself responsible for all this.
Don't worry, at least they won't kill me for this.
That's not what I meant. Why are you taking responsibility for this? It was my fault.
Yes, it was your fault, and I'm responsible for all your mistakes. That's what being a sergeant means, Note.
But still, it's not over, Sergeant. We can still investigate. I know we can.
That's not the problem, Note. We had a black market seller of unauthorized staff in our custody, and we let her get away. Plus, we don't have a proper lead to go on. We've already failed. Unlike Staffers, staff has no emotions or free will we can play off of. That's why it's even more dangerous for the sake of the victim handing this over to materials. It's the right call.
Note, we have no one left to fill us in on the staff. I know you've yet to experience failure when it comes to investigating a case. However, failure is inevitable.
Sergeant, you've got to trust me. Please give me just a little bit more time.
Note, you already have no idea what's going to happen next. Yeah, you're asking me to trust you. I'm afraid I can't do that. All we have left to do is feed the officers from materials as much information as we can to help them apprehend Varing. Maybe they can predict where Varing might run next. Next. That can happen, right?
After everything, let's not put an end to reasoning. We must have some sort of information that connects these statements. I'm sure of it. It's the time to choose. Which job am I to proceed with? I'm just gonna randomly try that.
What do you think, Ned? Any ideas coming to mind?
None in particular.
Indeed. Then we'll let Brian and Thena explain things to the spouse. Note that you can head back with me and...
Sorry, but do you think I could remain here in Detective Thena's place? There's something I'd like to tell Miss Miller myself.
Alright, just don't be too late getting back.
Okay, there's the sergeant heading off then. Detective Brian.
Something the matter?
Just a moment ago, you said there's no one else who knows about the staff, right? Well, you're wrong in assuming that.
What do you mean?
On Miss Baring's ledger, she wrote the contact information on the sellers who provided that staff, right? There's a good chance the sellers would know what skills their staff had. Unlike Miss Varing, they probably aren't around to look a lot of other staff, so they might know more details about the specific staff they had.
Note, are you presuming we...
Let's reach out to all those sellers and find out what skills we are dealing with. Then we can solve the case before the surgeon can hand it over to materials.
I have no choice but to disagree with you there. The chief's already set his mind on this. We'd just be blowing this up for no reason.
That's why it's only going to be 2 of us working on the case. Then, even if we fail, Detective Thena and Sergeant Redfins can still hand the case over to materials. Please, Detective Brian, for me.
We really should have this time.
Man, I was sure Detective Brian would help me out if I pleaded with him. I guess this isn't as simple as asking him to go buy me a pastry.
What's going on here? Where'd that ribbon run off to?
Miss Miller, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, and now the case is going round to a standstill.
By standstill, does that mean you're giving up on the case?
You need not to worry about that. Another division specializing in identifying staff will be taking over the case. From now on, all details surrounding this case will be kept under wraps, but...
Wait! Kept under wraps? What's that supposed to mean? I won't be able to find out how my own husband died.
That, may be the case, but... You shouldn't be concerned. If someone murdered your husband, he or she will be punished for that.
That's hardly what's important here. The man I shared a bed with until yesterday is dead. And you expect to live my life not knowing what happened to him? I'm begging you. Please help see this through.
Detective Brian, we still have time.
I guess you're forcing my hand. Alright. Until the very moment this is handed over to materials, I'll do my best to find out the truth.
Thank you.
Perfect.
But note, if you're thinking of reaching all 4 sellers, don't you think we're short on time? Even if you don't need much time to piece things together, we won't have enough time to visit each person.
We don't need to meet with each person individually. Miss Miller, could we use your phone? London Dartford Road, 1960-something, December 10th, 5:30. Detective Brian, I'm sorry to rope you into this. Honestly, I was hoping to do this alone.
You need someone to drive? It's perfectly fine, so don't you worry. Like I said before, think of me as a handy tool to be used.
No, I really can't. I can't think of a person, let alone a senior detective, as a tool.
Is that so? I thought it'd be a rather good metaphor.
I'm not sure what's good about it.
Staff are tools. Staff are like tools, are different from people in that they have no free will. So in a way, there's more dangerous. Staff like tools are different from people in that they have no free will. So in a way, they're more dangerous than people. But once you figure out their skills and triggers, they are as easy to manage as any safer. They can even turn out to be useful as our spokes. There isn't a person who walks this earth who doesn't make use of some tools or another without will or reason. They are easy to put to use, and the results always turn out the same. With people, on the other hand, the answer always change. They shift based on experience, mood, or an agenda, making it so hard to trust people. That goes for families, lovers as well. Now, if it may be impossible to fully put your face in another human, however, having one person in this world like me is a blessing. Someone you don't hesitate to ask a favor to. I want to be that person for you.
In a word, you want to be trustworthy, isn't that right, Detective Brian?
Indeed, you could put it like that.
I definitely trust you, but that's not because I view you like a tool.
Alright then, just hope you mean that.
I told you before. Remember, Detective, sometimes you don't make a whole lot of sense. Sometimes you're far too abstract, and sometimes it feels like idle chatter. Honestly, it feels a bit like a suspect making excuses. It doesn't suit you.
I apologize, but I'm going to have to turn that around and say it applies to you as well.
Huh?
Note, why take on such a difficult case like this? We've already come this far, so I don't wish to complain, but you wouldn't normally be doing this.
Well, that's because... Right here. Let's hurry, we don't have much time.
So that's how that feels.
Bearing shop, 1960 something, December 10th, 5:40. I forgot how I voiced this person.
Huh. Here are the people for called, right? You sure got here fast.
Huh, aren't you? You're Delton staff here, correct?
Sir. Dear me, aren't you the mafiosos who rolled in here earlier?
That woman. She's the one Bearing was talking about before, and that one.
Nice to meet you, your acquaintance. Are you the man who called? The 3 people, fortunately for us, they all came. Following the order of a man you've never met, the Burrow's infirmary comes in handy at times like these. Unfortunate that we couldn't call in the last person whose number was smudged.
We can only hope that one of these 3 sold the staff that did the number on our victim.
So if the Bureau's calling us up and asking us to come here, are we under arrest? I apologize, but I have work that needs to be done, so I can't be hung up here too long.
No need to worry about that.
Well then, shall we get straight to the reason we're called? About 6 months ago, each one of you sold a piece of staff to a Miss Sad Bearing. For time's sake, let's call you Miss A, Miss B, and Miss C. Mr. C. I know quite a few unpleasant words that start with C. Could I have a different letter?
Shh. He's in the middle of explanation.
We're in need of some information regarding the staff you sold here. That's why we gathered the 3 of you here. I ask only that you give us 10 minutes of your time and cooperation. We're not going to arrest you. If you promise not to make any more illegal transactions, we'll take a blind eye to this.
Note! I think you're taking this a bit.
Please, Detective Brian. For Miss Miller's sake.
You leave me no other choice.
Of course, we really can't turn a blind eye to this, but saying that should help us out. Since this will be a big help to us, I guess I should help them to get off with just a fine, though. Yeah.
If what you say is true, I guess I have no reason to object. What do the rest of you think? I don't think I'll be too hard to help them out. Plus, I owe them gentlemen Green a debt of gratitude. I'm in.
Great, then would you all start by looking at this picture? Can you identify any of these items in the picture as staff you sold?
Nope, mine's not there. Mine's not here either. I don't see what I sold.
It seems as though that part Bearing said about changing the form of the staff were true.
However, as the surgeon said, even though the victim changed the look of it, the true form of the staff has to be somewhere.
If we want to figure out who sold each piece of staff, we should start by hearing what sort of staff each person sold. The food's explanation, would you like to hear first?
Speech time? Speech select. Do. Let's go from May.
I had no idea we'd meet under such circumstances. The paper you gave me before turned out to be great help. Do you know how long it's been since I legally set foot in a pub?
I'm glad to hear that, but in truth, I can't say I'm happy to be meeting you like this.
About that, when I first got to London 6 months ago, I didn't have a pot to piss in. I'd be carrying around the staff like a talisman for some time when Bearing told me her price. I sold it in a heartbeat. I later found out that it was illegal, and oh, did my heart skip a beat. You see, we have very little staff where I'm from, so there aren't any rules to regulate it. Same goes for where I'm from. Bad luck. That's what I said. Though, it is my fault for not looking into it beforehand.
So what sort of staff was it exactly?
Switcheroo.
How can I explain this? I got it from an acquaintance, so I'm not sure about its skill exactly, but from the look of it, you'd think it was just a finely crafted musical box. You know, the one that plays a tune where you open them. But since it was a staff, you started to see stuff when you opened it, and the music played. It was this vision of a man, but since he wasn't real, I never figured him to be dangerous at all. That's pretty much all I can remember.
That's splendid. Thank you for your cooperation.
Thank you. Your friend here was basically threatening me. Thank you.
Your friend here was basically threatening me. That feels like a low blow.
Still, knowing that it helped you, sir, puts my mind at ease. Until he rang, I forgot I even sold the staff. If my girlfriend finds out about this, she's sure to break up with me. So I was busy thinking up a way to cover this up mess. Thankfully, I won't have to worry about that anymore.
Then it seems like you were aware that the trafficking unauthorized staff is illegal.
I was, but I also had some financial trouble 6 months ago. I wanted to buy my girlfriend a present, but I didn't have enough to cover it.
And so you decided to turn to the black market. I doubt the woman you're in a relationship would approve.
In hindsight, I can see I was a bit daft, but sometimes love makes a man act like a fool. Back then, being the only man for her was more important than life itself. At the time, she was dating at least 3 other men besides me.
That's quite riveting, but could you describe the staff?
No. Right, sorry, let me tell you about it.
Speech review.
The staff I sold was a flower. It wasn't living though, it was dried and pressed. I didn't ever use it myself, so I can't tell you exactly what its skill was. It was my grandfather's, and as he put it, if you plucked out one of its petals, it would divide you in half. Considering the fact that he plucked off a petal himself, I'm sure he was right. That's all I can know. Sorry if it wasn't much of help.
No, that was actually quite helpful. It divides your body in two. To be able to speak that bluntly about it, it's quite odd he forgot about it. However,
You two arrested Miss Baring, didn't you? Where's she now?
well, we're actually not too sure about that.
Am I? Did you already toss her out to sea?
As you must now know, we aren't members of the Mafia. We're detectives from the Bureau.
Yeah, I know that.
Is that how the public views us at the Bureau? I shouldn't be surprised, to be honest.
Well then, Miss B, would you care to describe the staff you sold?
Sure, you can count on me. The staff I sold was a yellow rubber ball. It was rolling around the storage area in my department store for a while, but then a mouse that was playing with it suddenly caught fire. The top part of its body was burnt to ashes, so it was dead as a doornail when we found it. Poor thing. The store manager told me to throw the ball out since it was dangerous, but I sold it here instead. Miss Baring said its trigger had to do with stepping in shadows. That's all I know.
You sold quite the dangerous item.
It seems that the victim's protective clothing was to protect against that one.
From what you said, I gather you work at a department store, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's about 3 blocks away that way. You should stop by sometime. We've got a promotion going where any non-Stafer customer can get a 5% discount.
From the sound of your event, it sounds like Stafers aren't too welcome there.
No, quite the opposite actually. We're well known for being the open to Stafers of any level. That's why we got so few non-Stafer customers, thus there's a promotion.
Aren't the Stafers your main customers from the sound of it? Angry about the promotion?
No, they understand. Actually, some of them suggested we raise the discount to 10%.
I mean, Stafers are quite used to discrimination by face. I doubt they would get much of a reaction from them.
I see.
Ours is the best department store in the whole borough. We're especially known for the black tea we carry.
Maybe I should pick up a box on the way back. Since I played loose with the rules back there, it could serve as an apology.
Sounds like quite the stable job you have. So what's the reason for all these illegal sales you're doing? If your luck turns bad, you might find more than a fine waiting for you.
Am I? You've got quite the wrong idea. Miss Baring said the sellers aren't punished.
That's not correct. Both parties in an illegal staff transaction are brought to justice. Unfortunately, it seems as though Baring tricked you.
Well then, I don't feel bad for her sinking into the depths of the ocean anymore. We didn't throw her into the ocean.
Then please do.
Trust me when I say we won't. That's all from our sellers.
Yep, now we've got to figure out who sold which piece of staff.
As the Sarge said, if you completely change the staff, the object will lose its skill. In other words, it's quite likely that our victim added our parts of decoration to the staff while keeping its original form. It'd be nice if we could tell them apart just by looking at them. But without knowing how the victim altered each one, there will be no easy task. In that case, we may need to use some other information we've collected besides just a photo of the storage shed.
Well, then I should take a close look at all the documents I have. Okay, let's get to it. I've got to match the statement of the seller to a clue to make my connection. No, I mean, it's one of these three. Oh, whoops. Oh wait, it might be easier. Huh? There's nothing pinned about this one. What? Oh, I didn't realize. I found it, Miss A's staff.
Oh, is that so? Is that so? Where is it?
In the victim's storage shed, of course. You can see it in this photo.
I told you before, it wasn't, I told you before it wasn't in that photo.
No, it is. Right here on the right. On the right, the photograph.
No, sir, I just told you the staff I told you was a musical box.
Of course, we are well aware where notes trying to say is that this photograph was built around that musical box.
Built around it. Ah, then that's just for camouflage.
Right, the bottom part of a photograph is much like a musical box, and it's even got a handle. It's quite easy to see how it might work. But no, it's hard to tell just from this picture. How about with this one?
What's with the black and white photo?
It's a record of the trace evidence Detective Brian was able to collect. I can say that much. Of course, you can see right there on the photograph, there's a gap. Thinking back on it, it was sort of like the lid of the box. Exactly, and the handprint on top isn't where you'd expect it if you were putting on a record. Instead, it looks like a handprint you'd leave behind if you were opening it up.
Now that you say it, the space looks big enough for my musical box. It looks a lot different from the item I sold, but just maybe. No, I'm sure that's the same color as my musical box.
With that, we can say for certain they are one and the same. Great, now we just need to figure out the remaining two stuff from the statements. Here. How did it teleport, though? That's what I want to know. Mr. C, would you happen to remember the type of flower you sold?
I seem to remember it, being a forget-me-not. It was small and blue.
What's certain is that we can't see Mr. C's flower in this picture.
Right, dried flowers are pretty small to begin with. It could be tucked away somewhere.
If our luck is bad enough, we may never find it just by looking. You're right, but thankfully Lady Luck is smiling down on us. Did you forget, Detective Brian? We've heard about a dried flower once before. Montague said something about one in his statement. It's good that Detective Brian never sprays far from the point. A little boring, but very good from the situation we find ourselves in. Mr. Montague tried to steal the notebook and hide it away in his safe. According to him, that was when a bookmark fell out of it. And he said that the bookmark that fell out was a dried flower. No wonder I didn't see it in this picture. The stuff I told was tucked away between the pages of that notebook. You said a blow flower, right? I'll have to check with that with Montague, just to be sure, but I doubt another flower would be hidden away in that storage shed. I guess we could say we found Mr. C's stuff then. And just to confirm, he said that the flower skill was dividing a person in two. Then the picture and Waring's note meant... Okay, now we just need to figure out the remaining swan stuff from the statements. Sounds easy. Detective Brian, do you think this could be... Certainly seems like what she described. Let's ask Miss B to confirm it. You'd be better not to lead her on with your suspicious though. Suspects tend to give the answer the detective is looking for, so there's a possibility she can make her own assumption from a vague memory. Miss B,
Yes.
if it's alright with you, could you take a closer look at this photo? I'd like you to confirm that the staff we sold actually is this pictured.
Pardon, I guess I could. After all, it's not hard to have one more look. But I don't think it'll be much of use. I just told you I sold a yellow rubber ball. There wasn't anything like that in the picture.
You know, that might not be true, but you might have just gotten the impression it wasn't a rubber.
Again, pardon? What do you mean by that?
As you now know that it's illegal to own unauthorized stuff. To put it another way, the person who bought the rubber ball probably wanted to make it look like something else. With that in mind, please have another look at the picture.
Okay. Ah! Right here. Ah! Right here. The sphere held by the sculpture of the hand. It looks sort of like the rubber ball.
Perfect.
Where's that weird drawing on it? I couldn't make it out at first. But on closer inspection, it is the same color and texture as the one I sold.
That marking was left behind Miss Vering's skill. Now that I'm thinking about it, the markings show where the original piece of stuff is. Miss B confirmed that the ball was the marking on it was hers. That serves as evidence that it's stuff.
I mean, if you told me it was going to look different, I could have told you that from the very start.
Did we leave that part out? Oh, sorry, we did. But that's because we needed to explain it quickly. No, your mind works a bit quicker, so you tend to go ahead of most conversations. You could just say it with a mistake. You don't have to package it like that. Again, overestimating my abilities. Now, we've matched all three staff with their sellers. Right, time to make sure we're on the same teams. Miss A's staff was a musical box that now in the photograph. The trigger is being opened, and its skill seems to be something about visions. Miss B's staff is a yellow ball in the sculpture. Its trigger is stepping in the shadow, and its required skill seems to burn whatever enters the shadow. And Mr. C's staff is a dried flower stuck inside a notebook. The trigger is plucking one of its petals. Though we can't know exactly what its skill entails, it apparently divides the body in twain.
Hey, since we've told you what we needed, could we leave now? My break time's almost up.
Sorry, but that goes for me too. I've got things to do, so I can't be hanging around. Oh, alright, yeah, you can go now. Thank you for all your cooperation.
No reason to thank me. We're helping each other out here. I hope you solve whatever case you are currently investigating. And also, will you tell us if you find Miss Vering?
Why, you decided to throw her out to see yourself?
How come now I never?
Note, are you sure we should be sending them off like that? Yes, they've told us everything they know. After all, sorry to interrupt. Mr. C, you can head along now, okay?
Yes, I was just about to, but there's something concerning me. You mentioned that Miss Vering left behind some notes, right? Is that where she wrote our phone numbers?
Yes, and...
Again, my apologies, but could you perhaps burn that note? It's not that I don't trust you fine detectives, but however, I wouldn't feel right leaving behind evidence. Do you understand?
It's my turn to apologize because I can't do that. We may need this note again during our investigation. However, I'll be sure to burn it once we're done. You have no need to be concerned.
If you're going to burn it, why not get it over with and burn it now? Or just burn the part with my phone number?
I can't do that, sorry. Note! What?
Hand it over the memo, please. Let's make this easy on ourselves.
In fact, it's you who's chosen to make this hard on everyone. Please just trust us and take a step back.
I'll trust you if you hand over the paper.
What should I do if I had known this was going to happen? Detective Thena, with her experience in probations and her gun, was a clear choice. Alright, I'll get rid of the paper. I don't have any lighter though, so I'll just have to rip this part off.
No, you've got to burn it. If you can't do that, just give it to me.
Note, don't take another step closer to him. He's dangerous. So, what am I supposed to do? Ryan, get out of here.
Seems like you haven't handled many situations like this before.
Unfortunately, it's as he says, no, you can't turn and run from a person holding a knife. It's too dangerous. I'll do what I can do with him. You run.
No, I can't leave you alone to...
Note, this is no time to argue. But, not trick.
Please, for once in your life, listen. If I thought you could help by staying here, I wouldn't be telling you to run. Do you remember our conversation in the car? Just rest once, trust me.
Where do you think you're going?
Hmm.
When I was young, a neighbor who always used to visit me.
When I was young, a neighbor who always used to visit me was sent to the Stafer Training Center. I knew it wasn't his choice. No child would want to go there. They confined his mana release and awakened his Stafer skill where he was 9 years old. They confirmed his mana release and awakening Stafer skill when he was 9 years old, which is why they recommended moving him to the center, and recommendation his parents couldn't refuse. Though they could always toss him out with the garbage before then, was and is the normal sentiment in our society. However, the world isn't only filled with normal people. There are some who wish for their children to be part of society, even after society puts a label on them. I'm not sure if my parents were that sort of people. Before 8-year-old me, I didn't really matter what sort of people they might be. I realized that even if the affection they poured out to me was genuine, I couldn't take it as a given anymore. On days when I went to town with my mother, I can remember not letting go of the hem on her dress for a single moment. Before going to bed every night, I planned out what I would do if my parents kicked me out to the club. Before going to bed every night, I planned out what I would do if my parents kicked me to the curb like that. Then one month before my 9th birthday, I told my parents I wanted to be sent to the training center. To eliminate even the slightest chance of being thrown out like that, I decided I was going to sell myself first. Please, just stay calm.
How did you... My knee has problems.
I could see trace of you massaging your left knee. It gets especially bad at night, doesn't it?
You're a Stafer. I picked the wrong guy to leap at. Of course. I see why you colleague that didn't look back when you told him to run. He's a normie, isn't he? I guess that's why he left you for dead.
That thought never would have crossed Notric's mind. After all, I was the one who told him to run. But even with an accusation so low, it was enough for me to cast doubt on him. In fact, I'm pretty sure Notric was worried about getting in my way. It would have been nice if he had said that though. Whenever Notric says anything out of respect for me, I can't help but feel sorry. No matter how hard he tries or how many times he tells me, I can accept it as genuine kindness. I always come to the conclusion that there's some sort of calculated maneuver behind the way he says. I really do wish he'd view me like a handy tiltweed. An object he can simply throw away in the end, without feeling guilty. Something everyone can trust. Because I can't trust anyone. Still, because of what's happened in the future, Notric will...
Detective Brian!
Ah!
Detective Brian, are you okay?
No, what are you?
You're safe now. Leave everything to me.
What on earth? No, seriously, what are you doing?
Oh, this place is disguised as to be a construction site, yeah? If everything just happened to be parked outside.
I mean, if you knew that,
It's fine, I know you how to operate it. You know I got the license.
Right, I do know that, but...
Holy shit, so loud. Anyway, detective, this was my plan. Use the dust and grime to hide while I made my way out of the building. Find you based on the sounds made by your opponent, and then...
I already had him beat.
Oh. Well then, should I lower the bucket?
I would appreciate that.
No, I'm heading your way now. I'll be there in 10, so no need to rush with your plan. Just hold on a bit longer. I'll get the rifle out of my boot. Leave this to me. Hey, Detective Brian's already subdued the subject. Then I should put these things away. Aw. You should. It's probably for the best. Good, well then. You two just wait for us. We'll see what you have to report. In fact, I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, drive safe and slow. You called the Sarge. I did, just in case. You think I'll get trouble for breaking down that wall? Well, since the owner of the building has gone missing, I don't think it'll be a problem. I'm just making mistake after mistake today, huh? It's not like you to act without thinking through the consequences like this. No, I thought it through well enough. If I had jumped into the fray back there unarmed, I probably would have just gotten in your way. That's why I decided to use what was nearby. It was a judgment call that, of all available options, was most likely to work. I figured that at the very least, breaking down the wall would scare him off. And if not... Well, sorry, the truth is, I just couldn't trust you, detective. What? You told me to leave it to you, but I was nervous and I couldn't do nothing. I told you I came back to save you, but in truth, I was just afraid. I was afraid I might lose you. I know I keep saying this, but you overestimate me. Detective? You must be joking. I've never thought I'd see part of my foolish self on that face of yours. That's what you always do, make my lack of belief turn to complete trust. Note, thank you. Thanks for coming back to save me.
I picked the wrong guys to rush at, seriously. First off, it seems like the two of you are safe and sound.
Indeed, our relief among misfortunes.
Why is it why is an excavated bucket sticking through that wall? Here's our attacking cellar, I see. So, what brings you two here?
I'm ashamed to say we reached out to the people who sold the stuff, to inquire about the skills they acquired. I told him to do it. I dragged him alongside or against his will. He refused, but I pleaded with him, and you know how he can't refuse a request.
Well, you are not wrong. Note, you found it easy, didn't you?
Stop that, it was my call in the end.
I know that. You're the one in the wrong here. When you've got a person who will literally do anything you say, you'd be an odd duck not to use him. But note, you, especially you, I wanted you to be that odd duck. Sorry I pushed you. Brian, wait in the car with Thena. I'll figure out what your punishment is after I'm through here.
Alright. You want to hear something funny?
I was thinking of starting off our conversation with a good slap to the face, but Thena beat me to it. In the end, words are more deadly than fists anyway, right?
When I decided to come this way, Detective Brian followed me was already part of the equation. He really is like a handy tool ready to be used whenever. But I feel like garbage. I'm gonna say that wrong. When I decided to come this way, Detective Brian followed me was already part of the equation. He really is like a handy tool ready to be used whenever. But I feel like garbage.
Note, you talk as though you aren't already walking in filth. Why didn't you tell me about the lead we had contacting the sellers?
Because my risk of failure was so high. I was sure you'd shoot my idea down.
Note, when I'm on a case, I think of Brian as a tool too.
What?
Not just Brian, but you, Thena. Even I'm a tool, not a person. Trust, affection, emotion, none of those can be turned into logic. The thought of losing one relationship is enough to send you down a path of no return. This is just a theory of mine, but you can't mix people and reason. Filter all those out. After all that, only logic should remain. Take you for instance, Note. You should have convinced me to come with you. You should have confronted my own logic, smashed the subordinates holding it up. You should have confronted my own logic, smashed the stubbornness holding it up.
Of course, I know what sort of person the sergeant is. I know, but still. Why did I hide coming here from the sergeant? What exactly was I afraid of?
That's enough time for self-reflection. Back to business. Note, what? Did you find anything?
I did, actually. I found out about the staff that took our victim's life.
Oh, then let's be off. Oh, then let's be running off. We're running out of time.
Then of Thena?
Note, I heard you're the only one broke down that wall with an excavator. You're no odd duck. You're insane. Note, I heard that you were the one who broke down the wall with an excavator. Note, I heard you're the one bloke broke down the wall with an excavator. You're no odd duck. You're insane. As expected, I have an eye for people.
I had no idea what part would put an end to an anger. Sarge, just as Thena said, we're running out of time. How about we give our report while we drive? It will take us about 15 minutes to return to the scene.
Okay, everyone, get into the cars and flip over your sporks. Let's move. And note,
Yes.
I'll be wanting to hear about the excavator later on.
London, Dartford Road, 1960-something, December 10th, 6 o'clock. So just like that, we called the 3 sellers into the shop, and we were able to listen to their description to find the skill and trigger for each piece stuff. The information that learned from the sellers about the stuff is as follows. There's a musical box that presents visions when opened, a rubber ball that sets the thing aflame when it steps into the ball's shadow, and finally, a dried flower that divides a body in twain when a petal is blinked. That one was tucked in between the pages of the notebook.
I see. Then the fact that Bering wasn't able to identify Step doesn't seem so far-fetched anymore. It seems like the most dangerous of the 3 is the rubber ball, right? Couldn't the ball have turned half the body to ash? Maybe that's why we found him like that.
Are you serious? The most dangerous object of the 3 is clearly the dried flower. If you think about the state of the victim, it's quite obvious. The seller wasn't quite sure about the skill of his dried flower, but it's clear that it divides a body into 2.
It sounds like the musical box skill isn't spelled out too clearly either. It's quite possible that the musical box was open at the time of the incident. Thus, we can't rule out that it had some role to play in how the incident occurred.
All 3 are suspecting a different piece of stuff for this. If I can't put the problem to us, there's no way we can continue our conversation. We're going to need support or oppose each other's opinion to exclude the stuff that has no bearing on our case. Oh. We're gonna pose Thena's one first because no one... The door was opened. Actually, no, hold on. Well, I can first of all easily do this one. In truth, if it were possible that the victim opened the music box, we couldn't rule out that the music box was involved. But as for it having been opened, we must discuss if that is a possibility.
Which means you're certain the musical box wasn't opened.
Yes, I'm certain. Sergeant, do you remember the trace photo of our crime scene? Detective Brian investigated that music box using his skill.
I see. Then the trace must be evidence backing your claim.
It is that there was a handprint left on the music box, but it was left over a week ago.
So you're saying that if the musical box had any part of play in this case, there would be trace remaining, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunate. I do love musical boxes.
That's not how you're supposed to settle on a possible cause. One statement dealt with, that leaves me with 2 more on the transcript. Let's print out the transcript one more time and connect the correct information with the correct statements. I don't know about this one, to be honest. I do want to say that maybe this, because he is saying a correct, but how does it work? Thena, the victim was not killed by the ball.
Huh? How'd you know that? Huh? How'd you know that?
You're right that if the victim was hit with the skill of the ball, half of his body would have been turned to ash, but as you know, detective, the other half of his body was in his bed, right?
Ah. My mistake. Just a slight mental lapse. I swear I knew that.
Why don't we think a little bit more before we speak?
You little... The fact that you're more cheery than usual only makes me more furious. You little... The fact that you're more cheery than usual only makes me more furious. Whatever. So you're saying that the rubber ball is unrelated to our case?
One statement dealt me. That leaves me with 1 more on the transcript. Let's print out the transcript once more and connect the information with the correct statement. Well, I mean... Hearing about the skill that divides a person into 2. It's only natural to connect that with the state of the body. Right, the state of the body is by no means a common sight. Thus, it's quite obvious to say it was the dried flower that caused all this. Indeed, that would be the case if the dried flower's skill were ripping a body into 2. By the way, you're phrasing that. That's not the case, is it? Detective Brian, do you remember who the original owner of that flower was?
Of course, it was Mr. C, the seller whose attack we just thought did.
No, I mean the person who owned it before Mr. C.
Ah, indeed, he did say that his grandfather passed the flower on to him.
That's right, so everything Mr. C knew of that flower, he learned from his grandfather. He said his grandfather used the staff himself.
He did, yet he mentioned nothing of that killing him.
Exactly. So even if someone were to use that skill, it wouldn't necessarily kill the user. In other words, the skill that divides a body in two, as he said, doesn't actually rip a person into two sections.
The dividing part must be open to being interpreted in a different way. For instance, maybe it creates a replica of something.
Why don't we think a little bit more before we speak?
Indeed, I was too hasty. The memory of seeing the body like that was just too intense that I missed a rather obvious detail. Then that dry flower is directly related to our case.
Why do you sound so cheery when you're wrong? Why do you sound so cheery when you're wrong? Quite upsetting.
But if that's all true, does that mean it's capable of teleportation?
Wait a minute, Note. Didn't you say you figured out which piece of stuff was responsible for the death of our victim?
No. This doesn't make sense. It wasn't the rubber ball, the dried flower, or the musical box. Then what was it?
As things stand, all the information we got from our sellers is useless.
Yes, it is useless, but it's enough. The pieces of stuff they sold to the victim are unrelated to this case. But that information is valuable to us.
I see. We've only got one piece of staff remaining.
One
remaining? Where? We just ruled them out all. One remaining? Where? We just ruled them out. We just ruled them all out, didn't we?
You're talking about the fourth, aren't you?
Now that you mention it, LDs say something about the extent, huh?
That's right. Out of all the 4 pieces of stuff purchased by the victim, we've eliminated 3, meaning that the one remaining must have taken the life of the victim.
Varig's notes also clearly show us there was a fourth.
Yet, it's not clear that the victim or all 4 items on the list. Miss L. Miller also said that she could have misheard during all the chaos brought by moving houses. But what does make it clear is that we've got more than just her statement, no? We have evidence that the victim bought all 4 pieces of varing.
That's right, we have 2 different pieces of evidence documenting the sale. You'll remember that, right? We should focus on both. With the transaction between the victim and Miss Varing and the documents that recorded it, if we can point out a contradiction between them, we can prove the existence of the 4th piece of itself.
Alright.
Oh, the time! Pocket watch is the thing. Huh? Oh. Well, I mean, it makes sense though. -7 and 7 hours slow. Like, am I too early? Oh no, I need to find out whether... So there we go. Oh, but I don't have the sentence that said that he paid 5,000. Oh, here. Never mind. Found it. There we go. Found it. Look at this memory survey right here. There was a receipt of the transaction with all of the information about the sale, right? You even got the documents. How are we supposed to look at them? Oh, sorry. For force of habit. According to the receipt, the sale amounted to around £5,000. Again, that's so much money. He should have just given it to me.
So, what's that number supposed to mean to us, Newt?
Oh, I can't think of any significance to such an amount. No, it doesn't mean a lot taken by itself, but take a look at it alongside Miss Vering's notes.
Let's see here.
Detective eyes on the road. You look forward. I'll just explain it to you.
Oh, my word. Hobbit is a very terrifying thing indeed.
Detective Brian has seemed quite tense from a while now. He didn't hit his head back there or anything, did he? Miss Vering has the price of each item for sale here in her notes. Miss A's staff was £300, Miss B's 200, and Mr. C's 500. Wow, she's got a lot, but it's nothing compared to £5,000. Is it really nothing, though? She figured it out. If he bought all 3 pieces are still sold, that would only be around £1,000, which puts us £4,000 short of what the victim was supposed to have paid. However, Miss Vering has notes at the very bottom about one more piece of staff. Because it's smudged, I can't tell you exact figure, but I can see it starts with a 4.
£4,000.
That's right, if this last piece of staff was 4,000, and the victim did indeed buy it, our price tag for 5,000 is correct. The victim must have bought all of the staff on this list.
£4,000 for one piece of stuff? You could buy a whole house for the price of that one. The last piece of stuff, is it the one that killed our victim?
Note, you said you figured something out about the staff that took the life of the victim. So in other words, you already know what sort of staff this last piece is, don't you?
Does he really? But the only thing left at the victim's house was the calling staff.
Brian, Sergeant, you've both seen the last piece of staff firsthand. You just didn't think it was a staff at the first time. However, if you consider the characteristics of all the staff Miss Vering sold, you can figure out which item we overlooked in certain crime scene pictures. I already know. I thought we were doing that one before this. Huh? I mean, isn't it that? Huh? I mean... So here. I'm confused, like... What was the photo, all the stuff? It's obvious where the final piece of stuff that no one has been talking about is located. Hmm. I'm so confused. Oh, because of the mark, I forgot, yeah. So it wasn't pocket watch, what? There's one thing that each piece of staff sold by Miss Varing has in common. The red mark that shows her used her skill on it. Miss Varing checks these marks to see the paths these items have taken. That's why it's highly likely that every item she's ever sold also bears this mark. We haven't seen the dried flower for ourselves, so we can't say for certain about it. We haven't seen the dried flower for ourselves, so we can't say for certain about it, but the pattern on the rubber ball and the music box. In other words, anything bearing that mark is staff Miss Varing sold. No. I see, of course. Detective, eyes forward. Forward. Ah, sorry, these habits will be to the death of me. Yeah, they really are frightening. However, I know what you're trying to say before. Varing's red mark was also on the door at the time of the scene. The door to the storage shed. That's our fourth piece of staff. Well, that's what I thought of at first too. But I don't think any ordinary door would cost 4,000 pounds. The fourth piece of staff is probably expensive in and of itself, even without a skill. What do you mean? What do you mean? Ah, okay, finally, okay. What? Oh, no.
The pattern on the door was much simpler than the patterns on the rest of the staff. There's just a single mark on it. If you take a look at Baring's Beru file, it says the lines inside of the circle represent the staff's movements. Considering there are no lines, it means that the staff hasn't moved from the spot a single time. So this door was never moved. If the staff were the door, and he attached itself to his storage shed, there would have been a line in the circle. To put it simply, the staff is not the door itself. Something that hasn't moved a single time, then perhaps...
Note, I may be going on a wild goose chase at this, but I do remember something. The victim's wife, Elle Miller, said something. She mentioned his comment that he was lucky to find 4 pieces of rare stuff. However, she continued to say that because she had just moved there, she may have misstirred it. That's right. The couple moved into that house right when he purchased the staff. I don't think we can call that a coincidence. Considering the £4,000 price tag, an amount you could literally buy a house for, the product has to match the price the victim paid for it. The scene of the crime, the victim's house. That's how he got his hands on the 4th piece of staff. Then the 4th piece isn't just a storage shed door. Right. It's the storage shed where the victim kept the staff. That whole building is the 4th piece of the staff. Oh, what? Okay, I was completely wrong. That's the thing that killed the victim. Logical. Oh, I thought that, okay, so the time was just a clue about it. Oh, okay. Or misthrow. The storage shed where he housed the staff collection, I never would have thought of that.
It is quite impressive, but that's not the end of this, is it?
Huh?
The 4th piece of the staff is the shed. That's how you're explaining it, but what's more important is what sort of skill that building holds. If you can't explain that, Note, your reasoning about the victim's death being caused by the shed is simply a guess. Guess. There's no way for you to guarantee it's killed the victim otherwise.
The Sarge has an knack for finding my sore spots when squeezing. Note, have you figured anything out about our warehouse skill? I have my suspicions. Well, if that's the case. It is Detective Brian, though. It's all still a bit rough around the edges. Hexalogic time! This case has an objects moving around in strange ways. We haven't seen the forest for the trees because of the state of the body. These objects are exactly where they shouldn't be. They're all in unusual places. If that's because of the skill of the storage shed, then I just need to connect all these items to figure out what skill the storage shed possesses. 7 hours before, so he was like dipped, half of his body was dipped out and it like TP'd him back 7 hours and killed him. That's how it works, isn't it? You talked about them just a moment before, no? Which set is suspicious, the victim or his wife's? That's not the real issue here. The problem is that there isn't another set.
There's a good chance that the corpse was moved using one of the staff he's got. Yeah, it's this one. Displayed in the shed.
Maybe this one, actually. Here. There we go, this one. Formatch correctly. It might be this one. See if that changes. Yeah, okay. But which one's the last one? Maybe this one. Oh, I forgot about this mechanic. Not gonna lie. Oh. It's this one, isn't it, then? Move it in a natural way, so like time-wise it makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I've unlocked it. Now that I'm really thinking about it, there are many objects I've seen moved around in odd ways. The victim's body was transported from in front of his shed to his bedroom. Oh wait, hold on. His pocket watch was taken from his pocket and placed on the bedside table. Half of the victim's protective clothing was moved to the side of the storage shed. The notebook and staff Montague stole were returned to where they were in the shed, and all of these movements occurred on the morning of the victim's death.
I understand what you're trying to say. The force behind all of these movements is the storage shed.
It makes sense. The notebook Montague stole did, in fact, move, and none of the other pieces of staff had the teleportation skill. I see. Well then, what is its skills exactly?
Every item that moves shares one thing in common. They all return to where they were in the past. You all remember the notes Miss Waring had on her person, right? Do you remember what she drew to represent the skill the storage shed carried?
It was a picture of a clock.
Right, and next to it, she wrote a minus sign and the number 7. Plus, the watch his victim was carrying at the time of the incident was turned back 7 hours.
So the -7 means it turned back time 7 hours of our objects.
According to Miss Miller's statements about the murder, our victim died at 5 o'clock in the morning. 7 hours before would be 10 o'clock the previous night. At that time, it wouldn't be unreasonable to think he'd be lying down getting ready for bed. It'd be natural for him to set his pocket watch on the table beside him. Montague wouldn't steal the staff for until 2 hours later, so the notebook would still be on its stand, the protective clothing would be hanging in its place in front of the storage shed as well.
Then it seems from the state of the shed it isn't now.
The storage shed can return itself to the state it was in 7 hours before. That's the shed's skill. And, if Miller's statement's true...
Oh. We're here, the scene of the crime.
Miller residence in front of the storage shed. In front of the storage shed.
When the storage shed skill is activated, it returns everything to how it was 7 hours before. That even includes the things that weren't inside the shed at the time, putting them back to where they were 7 hours before.
I understand why the victim would want to store his stuff inside his shed now. Even if a piece were to go missing, as it did in this case, as long as he activated the skill within 7 hours, the staff would be right here, where he left it. A thief couldn't steal a single object in his room without taking the whole shed. Ah! Wait! Hold up! Then Berry's disappearance from inside there?
Yes, she activated the shed skill and went back to wherever she was 7 hours before.
Quite the bold escape, teleporting with the help of staff. I imagine such a thing could have adverse effects on the body, but I guess she'd rather risk it than stay in our custody.
I see you return in one piece. I've seen you return in one piece.
Elle.
Considering it's y'all, not officials from another division who've arrived, does that mean you've figured something out? Considering it's y'all, not officials from another division who've arrived, does that mean you figured something out? Not yet. We're still investigating a lead. Could you give us a little while longer? Of course. I was hoping to. You can't be here. You'd better go somewhere else. You can't be here. You better go someplace else. All right. Huh? There's more to figure out? Huh? There's more to figure out? Of course. This isn't a Stafer-related murder. Staff can't choose to use its skill.
The trigger. We still have to figure out the trigger that set off its skill. That trigger will be directly related to the case of the victim's death. Oh wait, hold on. I read it wrong person.
The trigger. The trigger. We still have to figure out the trigger that set off its skill. The trigger will be directly related to the cause of the victim's death. It's our job to figure that out. We have a duty to find out how he died, and he related to the cause of death to L. Miller.
But do we have any way of figuring out the trigger is?
It might be easier than you think. We have a witness there the moment the skill was activated.
Huh? Ah!
It's that Waring.
That's right. We saw Zadvaring activate the shed skills, didn't we?
I just viewed that as your mistake. I had no idea it could help our investigation. If Varing left behind any trace evidence. If Varing left behind any trace evidence.
She did. It's small, but it's there. The one piece of trace evidence she left.
Right, the trace. We made record of it. The window.
Well then, let's get to it. I'm going to set this pocket watch inside. Make sure you don't move it to the ball's shadow. There you go. The watch was next to the bed in his bedroom, so if we activate the shed skills, it should go back there.
Thena, report if it returns to the shadow bed. Roger!
Alright, Note. Close the window.
The only trace Miss Burring left behind when she used the shed skill was on the window, so perhaps when I close this window...
Did you do it? I'm not seeing the pocket watch.
The watch?
The watch, it still hasn't disappeared on our side.
That can't be. Miss Varing only touched the window.
There's clearly something different between now and then. Did Varing ask you to do anything?
It looked like Miss Varing thought of something. I'm certain of it. Then maybe...
The door. Miss Varing asked us to shut the door, just like this.
Ah! It's here! The pocket watch went back to where it was.
Was that
it then?
asking us to shut the door? We thought it was her way of hiding her movements, but it was never about that. The door and the window, they both had to be shut.
Making the interior of the room an enclosed space. That's the shed's trigger.
We've got it now. The victim must have gotten himself wedged in the door when he was leaving.
Great job, everyone. Now, we've only got one more question to answer.
What?
We figure out the shed uses its skill when it's been closed off from the outside world. We've uncovered the truth of how the victim died. However, we still have to figure out who closed it off.
We don't have many documents to record what was going on at the time of the incident. It shouldn't be that hard to find them. So the only person there was... According to the statement made by Miss Miller, she got into an argument with the victim. The cause of the argument was Miss Miller's cleaning of the exterior of the shed. Specifically, Miss Miller said it was about cleaning the window.
Note, what are you implying?
After she finished cleaning, the argument happened. Miss Miller shouted at the victim while he was inside the shed. She said, "You can live in there for the rest of your life." That's the conversation the surgeon picked up from the memories left in the door. After that, she slammed the door shut. We know that because Miss Miller's handprint is on the door. Because it's staff we're talking about, it doesn't guarantee the safety of whatever it teleports. So if the victim were to see his wife slamming the door, he might have gotten caught in the door trying to get out.
No, I'm sorry, but no, there's a flaw in your logic.
A flaw?
Indeed, the shed has to be closed off to activate skill, but if a person were wedged in between the door and the door frame, you couldn't say the room was perfectly sealed off. Of course, saying that it needs to be perfectly sealed is just a guess of mine. But according to the experiment we just conducted, the skill was only activate once the door was flush against its frame. If our victim was caught in between the door and its frame when it was closing, there'd be still a lot of space between and above him. That wouldn't satisfy the conditions of the shed's trigger.
I'm sorry, Detective Brian, but your assertion is incorrect. The gap between the door and its frame had something filling it. There was something capable of doing that. Yeah. Detective Brian, really think about it. How did the victim look at the time of his death?
Well,
The protective clothing. It was blown up like a balloon. Due to the shock, it filled with air, increasing its size. When the door hit it, the suit would have inflated. When the door hit it, the suit would have inflated to protect its wearer. As it grew, it would have become big enough to block the gaps in the door. Then, with the trigger met, everything inside of the room was returned to the state it was in 7 hours before. That includes the half of our victim stuck inside the shed. That's right. The half that was in bed 7 hours before was sent back to his room. That's the truth behind what happened in this case.
the truth. Is that the same truth L. Miller was wanting to know before?
Well then, our investigation is finished. All that's left is to figure out how to tell.
As for Miss Miller,
L. Miller doesn't need to know every last detail in our investigation.
Excuse me, Sergeant.
I'm talking about the shed skill. If we don't tell Elle about that part, she's apt to leave it to be. I think that's the least we can do for her.
Still.
L. Miller wanted to know the whole truth surrounding the death of her husband. To that end, I promised to help her as best as I could.
If this is just to keep a promise, you should stop right there. If that's the case, it's not determination to act in her best interest that's driving you, but your own prig-headed nature. The truth holds value only until you come face to face with it. Even if she says she wishes to learn the truth of his death, if she finds out what really happened, she's really gonna regret it. How painful must it be to know you killed your own husband with your own 2 hands?
Understood. I'll lay my own stubborn nature to rest on this one. It happened right here. Do you remember, Note? The first time we saw L. Miller, she was standing right here. She was shouting into the shed. You can live in there for the rest of your life.
At that time, Miss Miller was reliving the last moments she had with his victim. She'd been expecting it the whole time. She suspected that it was she who killed him. And to confirm her suspicions,
Sarge, I will never understand the pain of knowing I killed my spouse. I can't even begin to imagine it. However, I know the agony of not trusting myself more than anyone. What's more, I now know the relief that comes when someone helps you without putting any sort of price tag on it. So, I'm going to tell her. I may be pig-headed, but this time my actions are not for my own ends.
Do you really have such respect? Do you really have such little respect for your own sergeant? Go ahead.
Understood. Thank you.
I see. Honestly, I wanted to know. I wanted to know that I was the one who killed him.
case closed.
Yay.
Thena Manor Bureau, London branch, 4th floor balcony.
I bet that the victim keeping his wife out of the shed was out of concern for her safety. After all, there was some dangerous stuff in that shed.
He probably figured out that as long as he didn't bring those dangerous items into his home, things would be okay. If he had only told Miss Miller about their skills, none of this would have happened.
Considering everything she said, I think it was Ellie who didn't want to hear about it. That's why she had no idea her husband had done something as moronic as bringing 4 unauthorized pieces of stuff under their roof. If they had talked about the stuff but a single time, they'd have brushed off like it was nothing.
Was it a question of their passion cooling? Was it a question of their passion cooling as one might expect?
Quite the opposite. With the two of them, love ran much deeper than trust. They were each afraid of disappointing the other, so they gave up finding out more about their better halves. That mindset made them happier until the final moment. That mindset made them happy up until that final moment. But they couldn't see the flaw in their plan until it brought everything down. Trust can be quite the obstacle to navigate during an investigation. Yet it's such a necessity for such people to be able to go about their daily lives.
Sergeant, about that, something strikes me as odd.
What do you mean?
You say trust is an obstacle during investigations. Yet, you headed back to the scene with me before hearing all that logic you brought. Yet, you say trust is an obstacle during investigations. Yet, you headed back to the scene with me before hearing all the logic that brought me there. That was because you trusted me, didn't you?
No. That wasn't me trusting you, Nert. At the time, in fact, I would have been more perfectly fine if you were wrong.
Come to think of it, there's something I've been meaning to ask Detective Brian and Thena about.
Brian will probably be down in the office.
Thank you. I'll head there. Thank you. I'll head down first then.
Uh-huh. Good work today.
And Sergeant,
Yes.
on my way back, I brought some black tea at the local department, sir. On my way back, I brought some black tea at the local department. On my way back, I bought some black tea at a local department store. I put it out in the office, so you can have a cup later on.
Alright.
Well then.
Speaking of drinks, we had our coffee.
Fennel Manor Borough, London Branch, Manor Affairs Division. How very odd. Detective Brian, what's going on down here? Note, look here. Wow. The chief is actually sorting through paperwork. That's incredible. I think this is the first time I've ever seen the chief do any actual work. It's the first time seeing it as well. Chief, about that favor I asked before. He's so absorbed in his work that he ignored me when I tried to strike up a conversation. Did he hit his head or something? Well, I guess he'd know enough to take care of it. That aside, I've got something I've been needing to ask you, Detective Brian. Right, Thena and I parting ways. I told you I'd address that before, didn't I? You did, and I was hoping to hear more about it. Would that be alright? If you don't want to talk about it, I could always ask Detective Thena. Meaning you'll figure it out one way or another. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Like I said before, there was no inciting incident that led to our parting ways. "3 years earlier, Manor Affairs Division." Oh.
Hey, Kaki, how long are you gonna keep that up?
Keep what up?
Helping people without question whenever they ask. Helping people without question whenever they ask what? There must be some goal you're trying to achieve with everything, no?
I intend to keep it going as close to forever as I can, but it may turn out to be difficult as after I turn 80.
Are you serious?
Yes, there is a goal, as you say, but this isn't something I'm forcing myself to do. I'd probably be doing exactly the same thing if I wasn't born a safer. If you're worried about mine being used by someone, you really need it to be considered. I have certain boundaries set as minimum.
I mean, that was on my mind, truly. As the woman you're currently in a relationship with, I can't help you but be jealous. I wish you'd directly all that commitment in my way alone.
If you're telling me to stop, I may be able to, but,
No, I'm not saying that. I don't want to force you to stop. Honestly, if it was a rather dumb thought, I know how much all this means to you. After all, I've got aspects of my own personality that no one can come to terms with. And I'm sure you hate them, but you chose to hold your tongue.
I wouldn't say hate,
I see how you tremble every time I resort to violence. I see everything.
Sorry about that.
No, from society's standpoint, I do believe that's something I should be apologizing for. I just can't anymore. Cocky, do me just one favor.
Of course, anytime.
From now on, don't do me any more favors.
I apologize, but what is that supposed to mean?
Exactly what it sounds like. From now on, if you do me one single favor, expect a bullet hole as your payment.
From you, that doesn't sound like much of a joke.
It wasn't one. If there's a single person who's willing to help every other person in this world, wouldn't it be good for there to be at least one person he should be allowed to refuse? I'll be that one person for you.
Thena, do you know what you're saying? If you're being serious right now, then everything between us...
Right, it would be hard to keep a relationship going. Still, in this way, I'll be special someone for you in some regard. What do you think? Good, eh?
It's a bit unfair. Then I need you to swear to me that you won't hurt anyone in front of me from this point on. Then I can be a special someone for you in a different regard. In that way, it becomes fair.
What are you implying? I knew it. You do hate that part of me.
You're right. I do hate it. I hate it every time you resort to that.
Good. I'm actually glad you hear it. Good. I'm actually glad to hear that. Well then, thanks for everything. And I'll be counting on you, Ryan.
Oh. That's pretty much how things went. From that day on, our relationship was terminated, but she became a genuine partner with me instead. Good story, eh?
Honestly, I really don't follow that goes for your relationship with Thena, but the relationship that Miller's had going.
Is there really a part you can't wrap around?
Please don't say it like that. I've made my fair share of mistakes today.
Ah, there you are.
Huh?
What's going on? There's two chiefs.
Huh? He disappeared.
Full 30 minutes active, not bad. Is this supposed to be your idea of a joke?
Are you a safer too, Chief?
Detective Case, that's a horrible joke to make. I just used this.
The dried flower, the victim's staff, no? It's just like the surgeon said, the staff creates a copy of a person.
He saw it through the paperwork just as I ordered him to. Seems like his intelligence isn't all too different from mine. I'm also quite fond of the fact that he disappears alongside a petal I plucked. We're detectives here. Is it really okay to be going around using stuff like that? What are you going on about? This is evidence. We've got a job to do, sorting through it all. Thanks to your active role in everything, we didn't have materials messing in our affairs. Instead, we reaped all the rewards. I got all the anger out of my system, so there's no need to fret. We cleared out all records of that staff seller too, so you don't need to worry about her either.
You did what now?
Why are you so shocked?
Wasn't that what you requested to do?
When did I ask you to do that?
I asked you to... Crap, maybe I'm not too late. Detective Brian, where is the materials located?
You'll find them on the 3rd floor. Go to CA1 and tell them Brian sent you.
Thanks. Nice, lad.
Too late.
Nice, lad. Too late, but keeping busy.
The busier a detective looks, the more trustworthy he is.
Is that why you seem so busy? Been running around with the underground these days? Oh well, I guess I'll go ask you when... I guess I'll ask you about when the time is right. I was just trying to help Sergeant Redfins.
but unfortunately, it seems like the message didn't get along all the way to the detective case here.
What's this about the surge all of a sudden?
Oh, you didn't know? Detective Case called me earlier. He told me that he called in all those people who sold the stuff. He asked me to waive Sergeant Wedfin's of all punishment if he could solve the case in under 2 hours. I did as he asked, but I must say young people these days have no manners. Anyway, I should be off to test that musical box.
Not too smart, no? Do you really not get it? I really don't think that there's a single thing you'd be unable to understand. Note, there's something I've been hiding from you. You may think my refusal to tell you is, well, a sort of betrayal, but this is a secret I just can't let out into the open. I'll never confess this to you in person. Quite the opposite. It's a secret you must uncover for yourself. After all, it's the reason you came to London. I can only believe that the time will come and wait for it patiently. I have no choice but to trust in you and wait.
Oh. Case 3. The Wizard's Room. E-N-D. End. We're getting closer to more understanding the characters more. So many more mysteries. It's a good fucking game. And case 4 is next time. Mistletoe. Yeah, we're gonna be continuing on case 4 next time. Yeah. So this is it again. I already have a stream set up for Resident Evil 4's next continuation professional run, so keep an eye on that if you wish to. And I don't think my English accent's gonna be going away so soon now. So yeah, thanks for joining. This was The Infected. See you guys next time. Goodbye.